Welcome back. Nobody named Kevin. Anybody here named Kevin before we get started?
No, and you can't get me to change my name either.
No, not me. I'll never admit to it, even if I was.
We would have you eliminated. Yeah. So we were talking earlier. So Clayton was sipping coffee, and I was like, "Well, I mean, I know it's late, but now I want coffee anyway." So the Keurig versus the coffee pot thing. Okay. So why are you surprised I had a Keurig, Clayton? Because that was like I was like, come on, you know how much I drink coffee.
For me, it comes down to I feel like a coffee pot is just normal. I feel like a Keurig still hasn't hit that normalcy stage for me, and I won't use a Keurig. I prefer to just use a coffee pot. There's just something about a coffee pot. We have a reusable filter that we clean out, put it back in there, dump coffee and dump water in. Set it up. I don't know why, but I also feel like it's cheaper too, because I'm buying a huge deal of coffee for maybe $15, if that, and I get to brew coffee and I'm good for a year with the amount of coffee that I have.
I think it comes
with
down
the little tiny.
Right. Well, and then it comes down to, it comes down to a few factors, man, because I did the coffee pot for a long time, and what I would do is I would drink a whole coffee pot on Sundays watching YouTube. But the Keurig, you do have one single cup at a time. Obviously, the disadvantage is that it's one single cup at a time, but also when you make it, it is literally that fresh. And you can have multiple flavors because once you get the Keurig, you buy the K-Cups, and I have a base that sits on with a pull-out drawer. I'll have 3 to 5 different flavors of coffee in there. I could switch it up in between cups.
But at that point, same thing with coffee. You just buy different creamers.
That's the thing. I rarely use creamers though. I drink it black, so I do taste the difference in different black coffee.
I get you there, but you can do the same thing with just normal coffee. You can buy different you can buy different coffees. If I want to for instance buy Black Rifle Coffee Company's coffee,
a different
I can
brew.
buy that and I can just brew it. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't seem like a negative against it. I guess maybe your argument would be ease of use for using that coffee and how easily available it is.
It's premium.
And easier of switching. Well, it's easier of switching, too. If you want to do Black Rifle and then you want to go to Folgers, you're dumping the filters, cleaning the filter, swishing around the coffee pot. This is I just pop a different pot in and close it.
I guess. I think it just comes
convenience.
Down to financial. I don't know. I just feel like coffee, at least for a coffee pot, I just feel like it's way cheaper to maintain and everything like that.
I've never had a reusable one like you have. Mine are paper filters. Throw those away.
No, we used to use those, but eventually my girlfriend got really into making coffee every morning. She was like, I'm tired of having to deal with filters all day and every day. We're buying a reusable filter. And I was very much against it, but we got it and it works. It does the job. I don't get any coffee grinds in my coffee, so it works.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, and you also have a water tank, and it purifies the water as it runs through. I have a little mineral pouch I put there at the bottom, so it gives it a different pop.
A mineral pouch.
I guess to a degree you can get more complex with your brewing, but it's not that's a disadvantage for coffee, a coffee pot. You can.
Then you get into brewing. Then you get into brewing theory and relative brewing. And the nuances of, the coffee pot and the coffee beans.
The real question is, when are you getting an espresso machine, Devin?
I get asked that. I've been asked that several times. And don't know the answer to that. Because I'll reach dangerous levels of caffeination. Because a couple shots of espresso is just delicious.
Dude, I love
just deliciousness.
I'll do a chai tea with a shot of espresso. If I do a Starbucks drink, chai tea with a shot of espresso. It's so good.
Most of the time I get an extra shot in anything I get.
It's just
if Venti comes with 3, I'll do a quad. Or the I thought my lights changed colors. I forgot it's a filter. Or, even the Americano, which I've talked about a lot. I mean, it's just 4 shots of espresso and hot water. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
Get right to the vein, man.
I don't know. I'm just a normal coffee pot. Call me old fashioned, bro. It's just
I mean, but the thing is too is that something about drinking coffee, you get into the cups. Like I have a Charmander cup, I have a Squirtle cup, I have a Capricorn cup. I've got you just like now you're like, well, this is another cup I can drink. You start getting the weird cups, man. You get the Boba Fett cup, the Master Chief cup. You just start. I'm gonna drink out of this one day.
I do, dude. That's
part of it.
That's why I kind of hate getting coffee cups sometimes as gifts, because it's like, oh crap, I gotta use this. Like it gives me an excuse to use it. I'm excited, but I'm like, oh, I guess I'm drinking coffee tomorrow so I can get my use out of it. And it's like, I did not plan on drinking coffee. But I mean, dude, I love getting coffee cups and stuff like that. Because I've got like an Overwatch one I got for my birthday. I've got all the Jack Skellington ones, of course. And then we have like a couple random ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. I think we have a couple Panda ones. But
Panda's in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all we got to do is get you a Keurig as a present, and you'll be really obligated.
I won't use it. Girlfriend will use it, and by association, she'll make me end up using it. It won't be.
You can use a different cup for each thing.
Honestly, if you did it, I would just convince her that we should put the coffee pot in here, and I can just brew coffee back here while we game. That way we don't have to go out there. I could talk her into it. And still keep my coffee pot.
Yeah. Well, the Keurig makes the coffee pot redundant. Because like I had both at one time, and I'm like, coffee pot, you got to go. You're antiquated.
So let me guess.
It's like having a Tesla in the same garage as a horse and buggy. You got to just put the horse down and turn it into ground meat.
I mean, I was thinking glue, but okay.
No, we all eat T-Bell. We all eat T-Bell here, so we turn it into ground meat. We just have tacos for a few nights.
I mean, Taco Bell over Bueno any day.
Well, the funny thing is, too, I was talking to somebody about that. Like, I started coming across these TikToks about exposing fast food chains. What are you exposing? Like, if you're over the age of 12, do you not realize the food's not real? Like, you know what you're getting into.
Dude, yeah.
What do we think? Like,
well, it's like smoking cigarettes. It's like, yeah, they're bad for you. We still do it. Like, we know these things. We're still gonna do it. Like, I don't like. I'm totally against anti-smoking commercials. Because it's like, dude, the people who are smoking know the risks. They have just chosen to accept the risks. It's not like anyone smoking doesn't realize it could cause cancer. And like that message that's flashing on the screen, like, oh, I had no idea. Like, everybody, it's going to cause cancer. It's going to cause problems, but you do it anyways.
Yeah, I was smoking these for health benefits. You mean to tell me they're killing me?
Mm-hmm. Bro, I use it to work out my lungs just like any other muscle.
Yeah, I was smoking one on the bench press the other day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's not going to get anybody to stop. It might save somebody from starting. That's the only thing. It might save somebody from starting.
But, I mean, we have the DARE program in schools, so isn't it a bit redundant?
I mean...
What, you're telling me DARE doesn't work?
I mean, I think for your average public school system child, is somebody starts the wave. There's one really bad kid that starts smoking pot in like 7th or 8th grade. Okay, and then high school it starts spreading. Almost like Corvid. You know what I mean? And pretty much by midway through junior year, you know who the stoners are, you know what I mean? And then you know who the people who aren't. And then once you ascend that, once you get to college, it's like, what do you mean you don't smoke, bro? Like, grow up. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like everybody does it. If you don't want to do it, like, cool, but like it's not You know what I mean? It's like nobody thinks you're special. You know what I mean? Like it's so taboo in high school. In college, it's like, okay, grow up. Okay, I mean, like, yeah, we smoke. Do you not? You know what I mean? If you don't, cool. We'll hang out with somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Smoking pot never really appealed to me. Like, I did it once or twice, but it's like, it's too much for me, bro. I can't do it. Like,
the one thing,
I have an addictive personality, bro. I can't get after it. Like, I know that if I got into smoking pot, it would end up consuming my life because of my addictive personality. Like, I mean, we know how it goes, dude. Like, think about it. Like, when me and Quentin were building my PC, it was like, oh, we can probably go low end. It's like, no, we're not going low end. If I'm doing this, I'm going all in, baby. Let's bankrupt me.
I mean, you might get addicted to it. Like, you might be really into it, but you can still, like, manage your life. If you're, like, throwing away the rest of your life for this one thing, then that's a problem.
Well, that's just it. That's like how it is for me when it comes to certain things. If I get really into something, I get in deep. Like, we all, for instance, are playing D&D. You know, like, oh, cool, we play D&D once every other week. And I'm like, no, I play, on average, like, in a normal week that we're not playing, I'm playing 2 sessions on Sunday. Then it rolls around to the next week. I'm playing 2 sessions on Sunday, 1 on Tuesday. And I'm doing that all week.
Right.
I have an addictive personality when it comes to stuff I enjoy doing.
So for some people, being super into D&D would be cringe, okay? Personally, I think no. It's my personal opinion, but I think people who are super into weed, to me, is cringe. Like, I don't know. If you went deep in it and you were like, you know, you had like 8 different bongs, you know what I mean? And you were always talking to me about like the next level that you smoked, I'd be like, dude, this is so uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I got this new pipe. It smokes weed just like the other ones do, but it's shaped like Rick and Morty. Like,
see, okay, like, I don't feel like I would be that. I don't feel like I'd be that kind of pot smoker. I feel like I'd be the one that's like, this one's an experimental pipe, but it pulls a little bit differently than the other one. The pull is superior, just like with how it gets with like vaping. Like, I gotta have the best rig. You know, I need it to bring in thick, but I need it to be smooth going down. You know what I mean?
Too much work, dude. That makes it not relaxing anymore.
But that's my personality. I'm like, bro, I gotta go intense. Like, when we all started vaping, like, I know Devin kind of got into it like I did, where we were every other day trying a different build just for the fun of doing another build and seeing which one hit the best.
Mm-hmm.
No, agreed, man. Yeah, no, and again, yeah, I got super into that. Yeah, I'd rebuild coils every single day. Just to have something to do or to try the sleeper build was the best, dude. But, you know, and there was a point in time when like it was like that with, I could see myself eventually being there with weed. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be that person. Cause like, I completely agree. I'm not, dude, if I ever, no, I didn't like start accumulating, but I was like thinking.
Oh, it's like, what? I'm totally missed
No. I caught it at like 5% and I didn't give myself the chance. But like, that is one thing that Tim Dillon put into hilarious words, but like, I agree 100%. He just articulated it so much better, but he's like, I just think it's weird being like 30, 35 and being like, weed. He's like, it's like something about it. He's like, it's a high school thing.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's to the point of like, because I feel like a lot of pot smokers, not every single one, obviously, but they no longer have a personality, and their personality is weed. Like, that's their personality. That's all they care about. That's all they talk about. And that's when it's like, dude, you have a problem. It's annoying. I don't want to talk to you because that's all you want to talk about, and I really don't care about it.
I think like maybe that's the level of it's at, because like I can literally see myself 10 years from now, sure, like hitting a pin or whatever, but I don't see myself like every day, like started up in the morning or like every night. I do not see that at all. But like, I think, if it becomes a personality,
Well, that's just
That
it,
is
though.
me every morning, every
we
night.
can have a conversation with you, though, that's not about weed. Like, you know what I'm talking about, where there are those people, and I know 100% you know them because you smoke, that it's gonna be one of those things that it's like, dude, there are those people where that's their life. Day in, that's all they care about is just that one thing.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta have a life outside of stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's, and that, I guess that could be anything, because like weed as a personality is like annoying, but drinking as a personality is just as annoying. I'll keep drinking, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, like if all I talked about was like this different whiskey.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's
dude,
like
it all tastes the same to me.
well, it's like working out being your personality. It's just annoying. Nobody cares.
Okay, I think this is just getting to a point where if you don't personally like it, like, these are just working out's just a hobby or like a pastime.
Yeah, bro.
That's just like, yeah, dude, you know, professional fishers, they really piss me off, dude. Like, that's all they ever talk about is fishing. God.
Yeah, bro.
Like,
I mean,
if you are passionate about something I'm not passionate about, you are not allowed to be passionate about that. Okay,
dude, that's just how I feel. Okay, don't try to invalidate my feelings. Okay. It's like married people. If all you care about and talk about is being married and having kids, like, bro, nobody cares.
All you talk about your kids, man. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, kids aren't a personality trait. I'm sorry.
That's true. I got kids. I'm married.
Well, dude, it's like the same thing with like Devin has a kid, bro. 90% of our conversations don't involve it, but he sprinkles it in, and that's all I need to know. And I feel like it's that common thing. And like when it comes to like my girlfriend, if she's like, I just don't understand how you talk to him every night, but you have no idea what's going on with this kid. It's like, I don't understand. It's just like, it's a dude thing. We don't talk about stuff like that. We just talk. It's always the same thing.
It's because, like, as a dad and as a guy, you don't identify with your kids. You love them, and when you're there with them, like, you're present with them, and like you think about them a lot. Funny, I wrote a long post about this on Instagram and Facebook, but the point is, like, outside of that, like, you just think about them in a different way. Like, you're like, yeah, of course, like, but talking to you, you know, we're going to talk about what we talk about too. Plus, you don't have a kid. Neither of you have kids. You know what I mean? So, like, you know what I mean? It's also like kind of an irrelevant conversation too, you know, or you know, for anything.
Well, I always say the same thing. If something important's happening, he'll let me know. It's like if something wild's going on, like his kid got shot, I'm pretty sure I would know. Like, if something big happened, he's gonna tell me. But you get what I'm saying. I'm being hyperbolic with it. It's literally just like, he's not gonna tell me unless it's something major. Like, he's not gonna tell me ever. Like, dude, I don't know when Atlas took his first steps or started walking. I know that he figured it out at some point, but it's like, that's not something that comes up in our normal conversation. If it's something important, he'll let me know.
It's every guy friend I know that has kids. It's like that. Like, we talk about what we're going to talk about. Every now and then they'll bring up their kids, like, very rarely, but, or if we ask each other, like, so has your son or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I was going to say,
I do ask that sometimes. I don't just like completely.
Oh, that's not like a bad
No,
thing.
yeah, that's
like,
fine. Yeah, but you're you know what I mean? You're interested in that. You know, Clayton asked too on the occasion. So, you know, how does that look like? But that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I don't just beat you down with like, here's what my son does. But any of my guy friends that have kids, like, I wouldn't know. Probably for the first good while I knew them, didn't even know they had kids.
Mm-hmm. I think it's because it's like, I don't know if it's one, like, either you don't, like, it just doesn't consume your life the same. Like, I think it could come down to the fact that, like, when a woman gives birth and stuff like that, their body's flooded with chemicals and stuff like that from their brain to help them form that bond. Whereas, like, a dude, you have that bond, but it's just different. It's a different kind of bond.
It is. You care, but the funny thing is, like, all, like, you know, like, not, it's funny, like, you know, I don't over talk about it or everything, but like, it is weird. Like, it's always in the back. As a guy, it's always in the back of your mind if you're doing it wrong. That's for sure. You're always thinking, like, that's the one thing of, like, when everything's quiet, that's what you're thinking about. You're like, huh, like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? You know, and then you'll get in a very weird place, because then you're like, you know, what is right? What is wrong? You know, and you'll never know. You'll never, ever know.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing with, like, parenting as a whole, though. Like, I feel like everyone thinks the same. If I have kids, I want to raise them better than my parents did. Like, it's always kind of that mindset of, like, here's what I like that they did, here's what I don't like what they did, here's what we're going to do differently. And it's always trying to refine and improve that process.
Yeah. I mean, that's progress.
I mean, that's what...
And the weird thing is, like, the funny thing is, like, you want to do better than your parents, because, like, only you know what they did right and wrong. But in the same vein, you'll never know what your kids think of you.
Yep.
You'll never experience through their eyes. So, like, you'll never know. So, like, as long as you can say that you did your best and actually feel that way, like, when it's just you know, like, the only true accountability on the planet, like, when it's just you, if you feel good with it, call it a day. Try better tomorrow, because you are never going to know. You know what I mean? But that's a funny thing too. And don't let other people manipulate that too. Like, you know, for when y'all have kids, or if y'all do have kids, you know, don't let people, that's like a soft spot for a guy. Well, for any parent, people will try to manipulate that, you know, because people aren't the best always.
Well, I mean, I've been rooting for you to lock him up in a cage for a long time, but it's just not working.
Yeah, that's probably our number one argument we have every day.
Bro, I mean, he gets pretty mouthy when you're on the phone. I've heard him. Dude, I love it so much, because we'll be in a deep conversation and you'll just hear him scream. And it's like, Devin's not reacting, so I'm like, it's nothing important. He just felt like being loud.
You learn the screams, you learn the babbles, like, you learn, all right, that was a serious one. You just, like, you live with the, you know what I mean? Like, you figure it out along the way, you know?
I mean,
the funny thing too, and here's the funny thing too about, like, talking about kids. If I am speaking to a female though, any of my female friends, I will go out of my way to update them on Atlas. I think it's because they get really excited, you know. Hopefully that doesn't sound sexist, but well, yeah, I mean, I'll be like, hey, here's Atlas, and they'll be, and they'll show me their daughter or their son, and, like, we'll kind of, like, just spaz out over that for a little bit, and then, like, move back into
it's
life.
Just like that point of connection, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you assume that if most people have kids, whether it be female or male, they probably don't mind talking about kids because they can relate to it. Whereas if you talk to someone who doesn't have kids, it's like, it's hard for me to relate. Like, if you told me the struggles of parenting, I'm just like, I mean, I can't connect with you on it. Like, I get that it's hard, but I'll never understand it because I'm not there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that too, I also think it's, like, also just a vision, if that's, like, what you focus on. Because, like, there's women that focus on, like, I want to have kids, like, I want to be married, I want to have kids, I want, 2 kids, like, so they're interested to hear because they want to learn about what you're doing with your kid. Whereas, like, a dude, feel like that kind of, like, if that's your priority, they'll bring it up, they'll talk to you about it. But if it's not a priority, it falls to the wayside. It's just about what's in their target sites.
Yeah, no, agreed. You know, that the caring nature that they typically have, for the kids, you're like, hey, we can talk about this, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, agreed, 100%. And then the guy's like, what you working on, bro?
Made it make sense. But bro, so you watched Alex Jones where he addressed the being sick of Trump?
And so, like, yeah, he was on Andrew Schultz, and I can't think of his co-host. It's called Flagrant too, but it's funny because he's so used to being misrepresented. And that's like a lot for people to wrap their head around. Of like, you can't misrepresent Alex Jones. He misrepresents himself. I mean, like, to a degree. But it is funny. He's so used to the misrepresentation. That came up like that. Like, he just kind of like skimmed over it. He's like, yeah. He's like, y'all saw. He's like, the lighting was perfect. It was a film. He's like, y'all literally saw how perfect that was. He's like, what I said was, if I was a good moral person, I would say this. I'm so sick of Trump, blah, blah, blah. And what he says in the clip, he's like, and then after that, he's like, but I won't say that because I stand by what I said. He's like, I lost my bank accounts. I got, people hacked me. I had death threats. He's like, but I'm not going to say that because I'm basically sticking to my guns to some effect. He's like, but of course they edited that out.
So,
and it just like skims.
I thought
he's
it was
so
weird.
used to being misrepresented. Yeah.
I mean, he's a wild guy, so it makes sense. Like, there are some things that I feel like he's been misrepresented because he's an easy target. But there are a lot of things where I'm like, yeah, he messed up there. That wasn't a misrepresentation. He messed up. Like, the denying of Sandy Hook, for instance. Like, he messed up. He took him years, but he eventually apologized for it, realized that he messed up. Like, I feel like sometimes he makes mistakes, but it's not always a misrepresentation of him. Sometimes it's just who he is at that moment.
Yeah.
I think at this point in time, it's a misrepresentation because, I mean, of course, he tried to apologize and like be like, no, like I don't. But so then they brought him on for interviews and like to misquote him, they'd be like, so why did you say that? And then only take the part of that clip of why he said it, not explain like why he changes his mind on it. And then now anytime something comes up, anytime he says something, like, yeah, but he's a Sandy Hook denier. Mm-hmm. And it's like, he was a Sandy Hook denier at one point in time. Yes, but he even says it in that podcast. He's like, you'll learn the way to kill a story is with another story.
Yeah.
Like, yep.
I mean, it's definitely true. I don't know. I mean, that's altogether, I like the guy. I just feel he's off his rocker, but he's super entertaining.
He is very entertaining.
I mean, he may be a gloss over the subject and everything like that, but that is true. I mean, he's right. I mean, if we've seen anything with like cancel culture and stuff like that, the ones who typically survive it are the ones that just ignore it. If they never address it, it always seems to fall to the wayside.
The one thing though, like about him, and like at this point in time, it's like it doesn't matter. He has his own website away from all the other platforms where he has a massive fan base. So at this point in time, he has enough safety net. He's like, nothing matters. You know what I mean? Like he can do whatever, and he's already got his safety net, his bag away from everything else. Mm-hmm. Whereas some people, if they got shut down off YouTube, is like, they got to see if they can scrape it back up and hopefully salvage their audience onto Patreon or something. Yeah. Or it's like he has his own thing, his own company.
Well, I mean, I feel like you have to do that with like podcasts and stuff like that. Or if you're a really small channel with a really loyal viewer base, like Patreon's your way to make money. You won't make money any other way.
Yeah.
I think Patreon's a good thing. I think people are getting creative with it. But I just think like it's just funny, like he built that outside of it. So it's like he shouldn't have to worry about misrepresentation outside of it just being annoying to him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because some people being misrepresented is like, there it goes. Like there was everything you had, all the eggs you had in that basket are gone now. Mm-hmm. You know, so they'll diversify with like Patreon and they'll go on Twitter. You know what I mean? So if one falls, they can lean into another.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense. It's the smart way to do business if you're going to do something, especially public facing. Diversify, because you're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. There's always going to be that one soundbite that someone can get. They'll scour the hours and hours of things you've said. You're going to mess up once. Like anything you do, if you're talking a lot, you're going to mess up. And you're going to say stuff that you regret and that you don't truly believe anymore. It's kind of the way that it goes.
Okay,
dude,
so I still want to know his explanation on the pleasure planes. I just want to hear him talk about that now.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Dude, you don't remember the video of him going off about the Blackwater, like private military group and all these rich people that have pleasure planes that are full of hookers and cocaine and all this stuff. I don't know. It was crazy. I think Warren Buffett was involved somewhere. I don't know.
I forget what
well, I mean, that's like, I mean, yeah, I was about to say, like, that's probably just is what it is. Like, they barely go out. They didn't identify it as pleasure planes, but they do talk about, and he's talking to Andrew Schultz, he's a big comedian now. He had a great past 2 years. He's like, yeah, he's like, some of the parties I was invited to, like, he's like, it's just a smorgasbord. There's the one guy with the briefcase. He opens it up. There's everything you could want in that briefcase. And if you don't want what's in the briefcase, they offer you everything else. What you want? You want people? And, you know, and he's like, Andrew, you're in Hollywood, you know.
Well, like,
it's like,
my thing is with, like, Blackwater and stuff like that, like, a lot of people believe that it's just like, back in the day in Vietnam, they had an organization called MACV-SOG, which, if you know a little bit about Vietnam, we weren't allowed to enter the countries around it at all, even though that's where the North Vietnamese were. Our rule was, like, yeah, we are not allowed to go there. Well, MACV-SOG, it was literally, hey, we're going to dress you up in random fatigues. They're not going to have any identifying marks or anything like that. And we're going to drop teams over there, and y'all are going to go mess with the MVA. Y'all are going to, find where they're at, find where they're running fuel, stuff like that. And they did secret missions and stuff like that. They all signed NDAs and stuff like that, and we're just now finding out about it 30 years later from when that stuff was happening. I've heard theories that private military is kind of the same way, and the fact that, like, if they do illegal war crime stuff, even though America can give them the intel to go do that stuff, we have 100% deniability. If they mess up, not our problem. It's not on us. We don't know who they are. We didn't tell them to do that. It's just that culpability. Which, I mean, if you think about, like, if you're doing warfare and stuff like that, I mean, it was notorious for Vietnam for hookers, drugs, anything and everything you could think of was over there. They didn't care. They'd take anyone. So, like, a Blackwater plane and stuff like that happening, I'm like, sounds pretty normal. Like, it makes sense that would happen.
I mean, they're still around today.
Point, at this point, is anything surprising? I mean, the Bohemian Grove thing, that was like 20 years ago at this point. Bilderberg was 5 to 7 years ago. I think we were getting into college when that was big. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought Bilderberg was before. I thought it was a while ago.
Let's see. He did. He was following Bohemian Grove, I believe, first, and that, like, along the lines of, like, Bohemian Grove and, like, Bilderberg's all happening was all kind of at once. But he did his like God, I can't remember it. Like Endgame, he talks about that, and that was after Bohemian Grove. So that was like, that was his next stepping stone, like, into thrusting that out there, but it was all kind of tied in.
Yeah, I was saying Bohemian Grove is when we were in, like, kindergarten and first grade.
It was like 1999 to 2002, like somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Right, like, we were unaware to any of it, but, like, I'm saying when Bilderberg got big on the internet, we were exiting high school. I'm not saying, like, that's when it kicked off. Like, that's when it started being like.
I remember my grandparents talking to me about Bilderberg, but I remember it being like a book or something. Like, I don't remember it being something that Alex Jones discovered, but maybe I'm probably
It's not
wrong.
that he discovered it, it's that he kind of helped bring it to light. You know what I mean? Like Bohemian Grove and all that was talked about way before Alex Jones did his huge groundbreaking thing. Like, there was rumors of it. He just happened to crack it open. And it finally gained traction once he did that. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with Bilderberg, because whenever he did Bohemian Grove, he got a lot of traction and was considered very legit. And, like, everything he said was on point. He was someone that you could trust and believe what he was saying was correct. And he thrusted into the Bilderbergs, and then that gained traction. It just took a while because of the way the internet works. Like, how many times do things from the past finally catch on and take off, even though it's been sitting there for 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. I remember watching the Bohemian Grove videos. Mm-hmm. Imagine if that was recorded today, it would have been a lot better.
Yeah, we'd have a lot better cameras.
Yeah, the quality. Well, I mean, dude, like, we were just talking earlier before the podcast about stuff coming back. Morrowind is coming back as a thing, as a meme, and as one of the videos Clayton and I just watched was he broke Morrowind with mods. And it was like one of those things like you'd never hear 20 years ago. But he's like, yeah, my Buster sword is clipping through a McDonald's outfit in Morrowind. And he went to a McDonald's in Morrowind. Of course there's a Buster sword. It's like the classic mod to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the Ready Player One movie, but in Morrowind.
Dude, I couldn't finish that.
What?
I've never finished it. It's always on at work, so I catch glimpses of it.
Oh no, it's on HBO Max, I believe. And like me and Victoria finally sit down and we watched the whole thing.
Was it good?
It was decent. I mean, it had like really good moments, and then there were some that I was like, okay, all right, this is kind of boring. But I mean, it has a good storyline to it. I think it's actually a really good piece of cinema. It's fantastic for what it is and how it's shot. I'm like, it's actually pretty cool what they did with everything. And then the story was not half bad either. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super interesting.
I think
I loved it.
Yeah, I think my problem was I went into it with an expectation of something different. That was definitely my problem.
A bunch of references and talking about the references that you understood kind of thing.
I mean,
no, I was like, I wanted to like an analysis of like, I guess I wanted like something of like, you know, I guess like more of like a commentary in a way on VR and how everything could be. But I mean, I guess it is that. I don't know how to, I can't remember what I went into expecting it, but I just know like halfway through I tapped out.
All right.
I mean, I saw the beginning of it and I liked the idea of like, I don't know, like this world, like the creator didn't like rules. I did see that part or something. And like that's why the whole world is like whatever you want it to be.
Well,
like the currency is in there, like they made their money in the virtual world and that's what applied outside.
Oh yeah, his idea was like, I don't want to put limitations on things. Like it was really good. I enjoyed the concept of it, and the whole point of them is like hunting an Easter egg that gives them control of everything. It's like, all right, that's pretty cool to think about. I mean, it was,
which is basically controlling the world, because it was like,
well, that was the whole point.
It was the world.
Everyone's life was in that world, and nobody ever really took it off and kind of worked in the world around them.
So something that came out today, I don't know if y'all saw the Roblox is a coin now, or it has a stock. Like
it's a stock now.
Yeah,
it's a stock. Yeah, it launched. I mean, to be honest, I was looking at it. I was more surprised at what price it launched at, because it launched at a lot higher share price than I thought it was going to. But, I mean, altogether...
It's a stock or a coin?
It's a stock.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Dude, I'm waiting on Minecraft coin or something like that.
You and your meme coins, bro.
No! What? No!
Like, I feel like 90% of you wanting to invest in meme coins is just so that when it hits, you can make fun of me and laugh at me because you know it will upset me.
Well, that's part of it. But no, I mean, dude, just the idea of like so many people coming together and being like, we are committed to putting value on this thing and achieve.
Dude. Oh my God! But y'all are holding up like just the most worthless piece of thing. Like, okay, like think about the best coins. You know what I mean? Or the coins that are going to be big in 3 to 5 years. If you look into them, it's like there's a business built around it. It solves a problem. It's a software, like a real business. Coins aside, you know what I mean? Like it's like, these will be big. You know what I mean?
It does something specific on the blockchain that's different from the last one or something.
Yeah, but we're going to go throw our money at the homeless guy who dances naked at the stoplight. Like, that's where he's going to be big one day. He's going to be the next Michael Jackson or something. Yeah. And it's like right down in the same intersection, you know, there's an actual brick and mortar, you know, that solves a different specific problem. And we're like, not shopping there.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, so did you see that Mark Cuban he has on his what is it, like sports apparel website or something, is accepts Doge now, and it's done like 10,000 transactions in Doge. So now we have 2 entrepreneurs on it, bro. Why? Okay, well, Elon's just memeing about it, really, but why is Mark Cuban actually promoting it? Like,
I feel like Mark Cuban's doing it because he's trying to get on that Elon hype. You know what I mean?
okay.
Bro, because Mark Cuban's not stupid, bro. He's gonna watch y'all pump it. You're gonna leave you holding the bag. Why do you think he made an NFT of him dancing? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like
pump and dump.
He's not dumb, bro. He's like, I'm gonna make a GIF of me dancing, and I'm gonna make a couple million off of it because this is reality now. Mm-hmm. All NFTs, bro. I follow Alex Becker, bro. He'll buy, like, you can watch him on Facebook. The other night he bought one for $300, sold it for a few hours later for $2,000.
Oh,
It literally is worthless, but he's just watching people pump the floor, and he's like, these people don't even know what they're doing. And he's like, some of the NFTs he bought for $1,000 go for $250,000 within a few days. And he's like, it's just funny. He's like, it's just funny to watch. It's just funny to watch. I'm like, yeah, because he's a business guy and he's smart. So Mark Cuban's doing the same thing. Gary Vee is like, dude, every video lately from Gary Vee is talking about NFTs. Which that should give you a sign it's a horrible time to get in when all the influencers pumping it. Lindsay Lohan launched an NFT.
So how do you get into NFTs, or how do you it's a non-fungible token, right?
Correct.
So it's a token, but it's not a coin, not a crypto, but it's on the blockchain.
Right.
So it's just like a piece of media that can never be recreated.
I feel like we're circling about to what we talked about weeks ago when I called it dumb, and y'all both looked at me like I was dumb for thinking it was dumb.
I was wondering what y'all think about this. So you know how you saw Decentraland went up a lot these last few days, and then it just dropped today. So I was thinking if I had the idea correct about the NFTs inside Decentraland. If I'm still trying to understand it, but like you pay your money to buy these plots of land that are the same like size for everyone, but I believe it's like infinite up or something. Like you can always go up, and it's like a certain plot. But in these plots, you can like set up whatever. Like you can like build a game and put it there, and you pay Mana to go visit it, or a theme park, or avatar stuff to buy stuff. But I saw some of people walking around. They were paying to go into art galleries of people's art. If they made those into NFTs, how do you think that would
probably are
something?
NFTs? The land itself. So here you go. The land itself in Decentraland is an NFT in a sense. It's the same concept. You are the only one with that plot of land, and as soon as you buy it, your name's on it. Mm-hmm. But I buy this plot of land that you can't duplicate. I build a beautiful gallery, and I put like a water park on it. Now I bought it for $500. My next asking price is $200,000. All I need is somebody to pay that much. It's now worth that much. And the guy who bought it for $200,000, he's just waiting for another sucker to come along and drop $500,000. That's crazy. All that is. But that's the area it's in right now. The floor is pumped because all the influencers are like, this is the thing. This is the thing. They're not wrong, but it would be the worst time to get in because everybody in it has no clue what they're doing. They are, you know what I mean? Like they're
just trying
leaving
to make
everyone
a
with
quick buck.
Dude, yeah, you're leaving everybody with the bag. And then think about essentially if you sell it at a lower price and then the other 8 you made sell for a higher price, you can work with your tax person and write that off as a loss to your business. And now you're good.
Mm-hmm.
So these NFTs, are they locked with a passphrase or something to where you can't take a picture of it or screenshot it or save it or something? Or I don't get.
I can have Mona Lisa as my phone wallpaper, but only one person owns it. The museum owns it.
Okay. I get what you're saying. So someone actually owns,
Right. And it's on the blockchain of Devin owns this one. You know what I mean? Which everyone has a different user. Of course they use usernames and everything, but yeah, dude, it's complete nonsense. Now, is it going to be the next thing? Yeah, it's already exploding, but that if it's exciting right now, that tells you not to buy it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same thing that happened with like AMC, the good old fashioned pump and dump. And they just want to leave you holding the bag.
I saw something happen with GameStop again this week. Like it's been going up and up and up.
It made
Back
it,
up to 250 today.
making
Missed it
another
again.
run, but I mean, same thing will happen again. If they just got enough people to buy into the pump and dump, and then because like, dude, the first time it was like, okay, we're getting in. It's a pump and dump a little bit to a degree, but hey, we're doing it because we don't like hedge funds. Now it is simply like, hey, they didn't close their short positions, everybody. We should get back in. And now everyone's buying back in again. That's like, it's going to happen again. People are going to get left holding the bag. Everyone who says, like, oh, diamond hands, hold on. Nobody's smart who's actually in the stock market for a good reason is doing that.
No, yeah. Well, someone has to be left with the bag or the stock market doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just whoever's gonna. It's like a game of chicken, and like everyone's standing in a circle holding a firecracker, and it's like, someone is influencing. Like, no, guys, just wait. And there's like everyone. There's a lot of followers, and there's just a few like individual thinkers that are like, as soon as it gets to this point, I'm out, regardless of what everyone else does.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going up against people who've been doing the firecracker game for 20 plus years.
Yeah,
and have better firecrackers and have longer fuses.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, there were probably some people who got caught holding the bag with it the first time, and they're just like, well, I haven't lost till I've sold, so I'll just keep holding. And then now it's making a secondary run, and they're like, all right, cool, now I can get out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what they say about, like, stocks, have a strategy, stick to it. Never try to catch the peak. Always, once you make it, like, set a dollar amount for yourself. Once you've made that much profit, sell. Get out.
Yep.
Quit playing the game of trying to maximize. You don't want to maximize. Just take your steady gains.
So I took your advice. That advice right there, Clayton. I took it, and I finally pulled, because I remember y'all were saying you have to pull it out to actually make money, or else it's theoretical. Mm-hmm. So I finally pulled when I had gains. I pulled about a day early, I think. I could have left it in through yesterday, but I pulled it like yesterday, like at 4 or 5, all of it into die. And so I don't know. I don't really like that Coinbase says 0 fees. It does charge you because I think I got like $40 pulled out. Depending on the amount, you get a percentage taken out, but it won't say if you convert, which kind of sucks. But but I pulled them out, and then I jumped in last night at like midnight because Decentraland and Uniswap were both down like 8%. I was like, they probably won't drop anymore. They continued to drop today. But overall, like the amount I've invested, I'm still up. And I know those will hopefully go up like back to where they were and more, because I still got like in a big dip. We just dipped a couple more points, but I'm hoping, dude. Like Chainlink, I've been hearing a lot about Chainlink. I'm in Chainlink, Uniswap, Decentraland, and Algoland right now. Algoland. I don't know. Those are the four I'm in. I took out of Ethereum because like the percentage gains, that's what we really make money on.
Yep.
I mean, I could keep it in Ethereum and be like, oh yeah, it's worth 2,000 now, but going from that 1,900 to 2,000 only got me like, so much percent. But like going from 50 cents to 60 cents on Decentraland, it's like 30%. Like, and it's just makes more sense to me.
It also kind of depends on how you're playing it too. Like, I feel like if you're putting money in Ethereum, you're not looking for quick gains. You just feel like over time it is going to steadily keep going up. And
I'm trying to look for quick gains to eventually be able to play with Ethereum and Bitcoin, because there's no way I can right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, it's like the same thing like with stocks. I mean,
do what?
The same thing with you're saying the same thing with stud, but how quick is a quick gain? Because like with crypto, like nothing's gonna boom like that. You have to get people behind it. Like the best thing to look at is the market cap. Because I got into Civic, because their market cap was so low. It's 286 million market cap. And I don't know it's a lot of money, but that doesn't take a lot to double that. When you look at Bitcoin's past $1 trillion market cap. That's why the price rises. So like if you look at Dogecoin's market cap, it's higher than some coins that are worth more. That's why Doge sucks, because it's going to take a lot to double that market cap. Same thing like with a lot of the coins I got out of. but the bat right now is at 779 million. So it's going to take another that, you know what I mean, to really double it. So that's really what you got to look at, you know, when you're looking for these smaller coins. You know,
So if it
a
has
couple million on a lot. Right. So
cap.
Cosmos is 4.1 billion market cap right now. You're going to need another 4 billion in it to see a huge spike.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean? So like that's kind of in essence, but that's also a stock thing. You know what I mean?
Is that why BAT blew up? I noticed it blew up last night into today.
Money coming into it. That's why. That's part of the reason why. You know what I mean? Like that's weird to think about. Bitcoin's $1 trillion in it. You know, like what?
I mean,
it's insane.
It's interesting, dude. I love like looking at cryptos and stuff like that. My problem is I can never find the ones that I feel comfortable taking a risk on. Like I think on the next peak on Ethereum, I'm gonna convert it out of Ethereum and then try to play it with some short gains and stuff like that.
Dude, when y'all gonna join my Pi network?
I'm not joining your marketing scheme.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's picking up steam. More and more people are talking about it on YouTube and on Reddit. It has a development team. It's supposed to be available on exchanges the beginning of 2022. People are able to trade it for good services and goods. Like you can trade Pi for Pi right now. Or for stuff. I don't know, dude. It's interesting.
That's the problem, though. As soon as I see anything in my recommended about a coin, I'm like,
miss the wave.
Well, no, this isn't recommended. No, I just found this, and now, like I've noticed in the last few months as I watch stuff, I'm finding more and more people talking about it.
Right. So you got ahead of it. You got ahead of it. You got in while it was boring. The thing with the crypto influencers. I mean, if a big crypto channel talks about a coin, you can bet that afternoon it will pump. So that guy who has a couple 100,000 in it pulls out.
It's like Bitcoin.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he could literally talk about anything and it'll pump because he's a big crypto influencer. And then all he does, exit the position, watch everyone fall, buy back in.
Yep.
I mean,
as soon as I see
someone talking about it, I'm like, I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong. What I'm saying is like, okay, now is the worst time to buy it because now everybody thinks it's cool. NFTs.
Oh yeah.
Don't buy one.
Dude, well, that's what I'm saying though. So y'all don't think it's cool right now. Like, like it's a marketing scheme. And same thing with Dave. And dude, so his wife watched the video that I sent her. She went to school for accounting and stuff. She's like, oh, that makes sense. She's like, how do I get in? And I sent her an invite code. She's like, I want to do this. And like, I'm finding different YouTube channels that are talking about it. I'm like, dude, this could be some other form of like peer-to-peer, something about having a peer-to-peer network that proves that the networks exist and it's not robots. And it like, I guess it's just like Bitcoin, like having like a, what do you call it? Like a list of all your transactions and ledger. Yeah, there you go. But I don't know, because you're not mining it. It's every time you sign in, it proves you're not a robot and the people you got to join. And then it's like, okay, thank you for contributing to the network. There's how much Pi we're setting away for you for once this actually becomes an exchange. And then when it becomes an exchange, here's how much you're going to get rewarded in your wallet for backing it. Or like you said, like all these networks that are trying to build up had to start from nothing, like Doge or anything else, and enough people just had to believe in it, and then it gets put on something.
Yeah, I mean, so it sounds like you're an early adopter and you have like an actual use case. So that's a completely different thing than the Roblox and the Minecraft coin. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah. No, yeah, I'm not
use case for this.
Well, I mean, that's the thing though. That's like different with stocks. Stocks, you actually have a business kind of backing it. You know what I mean? You can see when a company is successful why it's gonna get more investors in it because they believe it's gonna go somewhere. Like whereas you have something to actually give you visible proof. Whereas with cryptos, it's just like, well, we believe in it. It makes sense to us, even though it's like it doesn't really 100% make sense. Like it's kind of weird, that it literally just rides on people believing in it. Whereas like a company, like even if their stock's not amazing, as long as they're producing like a good profit and they have a good product and they're innovating and stuff like that, it goes somewhere because they can give you tangible things of like, this is why you invest in us because we're going to do great things with your money.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really understand where the value comes from other than people just believing in it. I mean, same thing with the American dollar. We dropped the gold standard with Nixon. People just believe in the American dollar. I mean, I don't know, but that's...
Yeah, your dollars all just dropped again today. Congratulations for the third time in a year.
I don't know, but
I don't even get to partake in either, which pisses. This is the second stimulus I don't get to partake in. I'm like, okay, at this point, I just want some threshold of income.
He makes too much money. He gets to pay it back in taxes if he ever gets it paid.
That's stupid, bro.
I mean, their argument is if you're able to work through this and make a certain dollar amount, you weren't affected by COVID. So it's like it makes sense. Like the whole idea of the stimulus check was for those people who can't get back on their feet. Like
actually need it.
Same thing for me. I'm like, dude, I very realistically, I have savings. Did it hurt when everything happened? I didn't need the stimulus check. It didn't bother me. But like, hey, I meet the qualifications. Cool. If I don't have to pay it back, whatever. If I do, doesn't bother me. It's money I didn't need.
I mean, I'll gladly take it. But I didn't lose.
That's what I'm saying too. I'm like. I mean, I still, if my dollar's gonna take a hit either way, then I want some money for it. I want some more paper. I want some more fake money if I'm taking a hit, regardless whether I kept my job or not. Of course, I'm thankful and fortunate to be in the situation I am, but I also still want my dollars because, in essence, every time the dollar hits, you are taking a pay cut. You know what I mean? Like, just so now at this point, literally, if you make the same money as you did last year, you have taken a pay cut, a massive pay cut.
Well, I mean, that's because of the idea of them having to pump stimulus into the market and stuff like that to try to keep the economy moving and stuff. I don't know. I just really like, at the end of the day, the stimulus check, it's like, if you don't need it, then yeah, you shouldn't want it. Because like you said, I'm going to take a pay cut. And it's like, okay, yeah, but if we give it to everyone who makes a certain dollar amount more during all this, cool. You're taking an even bigger pay cut. So that money did nothing for you.
I have a question, Wagner, because I don't understand this completely. I don't get why or what the reasoning behind Biden doing his stimulus package was. Because if I understand it correctly, the $1,200 we got in 2020 was Trump's. The $600 we got was Trump's. And this $1,400 is the remainder of the $2,000 we were promised, that 14 plus 6 from Trump's. So is Biden's coming later this year? Like we're getting it again and it's going to get slashed again?
Next week.
Next week. No, they already passed it. I think the House passed it today.
Yeah, they passed it today. That's what I'm saying. You're going to get it next week at the soonest.
Where was the rest of Trump's second one? Or part of, because remember, he promised 2,000 and we got 600. Like right in December, November, we're supposed to get 1,400.
Trump never promised that. Trump said, this is disgusting that we're only giving them 600. I want it to be 1,000. Just like Trump does with a lot of things. He says it, but he did not have the political pull to get it done.
Oh, I thought it was actually written out.
No, so it doesn't matter what he doesn't write any of that stuff out. He can give it to his party members and be like, this is what I want, guys. At the end of the day, they have to bring that to the negotiation table.
So all he got was the 1,200 at the beginning and the 600 at the end in total.
Yes, that is what he did.
Oh, okay.
So it literally that's one of like the things with Trump for me is like he was not effective with his group. He did not get anything done because his party truly didn't like him. It's like all the things he wanted to do, he didn't truly get done because he didn't have a good back and forth with them. If your party's not willing to work with you, like you make me president, well, if neither party wants to work with me, it doesn't matter what I want done. It's not going to happen because I have no team backing me and helping me negotiate this. That's why like a lot of people think Biden is a really good pick on the Democratic side is because he's worked that job. He's had to negotiate and stuff like that. And he's really good at talking with the other side and trying to get some pull back and forth. Like He can negotiate stuff like that. That's what he did when he was under Obama. A lot of that was talking to them and trying to get the other parties to work with him. So, like, that was a lot of people's pull to Biden is he's going to be politically effective because of those connections he's made and all the conversations he's had.
So right, except he already didn't get the $2,000 and the $15 minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, you don't win every battle. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're at a time right now where neither party truly wants to give anything from their side, because if they do that, the other side whines about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, we've been there since 2012, dog.
I mean,
dude, that's the dawn of time. That's just the dawn of time.
I mean, for me, it's literally
like caveman.
It's playing the political game though. Like, I feel like parties have gotten so to the point of like we can't touch anything the other party wants because every side goes far, like you go far right or you go far left, and that's how the political sphere feels right now. So if I'm on the right and I'm negotiating, I'm like, I'd love to do that, but if I give you $15 minimum wage and I help you pass that, no one's gonna reelect me.
Yeah.
Like,
I see what you're saying. No one comes to compromise anymore. No one's like,
because they can't. They won't get reelected.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you know what? Like, Biden would get destroyed if he came out. He's like, listen, guys, I got 15 an hour. Everyone's like, but we did pull back some regulations on some oil companies. We met in the middle. Oh, he doesn't love the environment. Okay.
Yeah,
There's no compromise. They can't meet in the middle anymore.
Like the whole idea of our government, the whole idea was that we're supposed to be able to come to the table together and understand that we're not going to get fully what we want. And I think it's a phrase that in a good business deal, both sides, for it to be a good business deal, both need to feel like they were being screwed. Like, you have to be willing to compromise to get stuff accomplished, and that's why it always feels like government moves so slow, because, dude, it's literally them talking all day. That's why do you think that the bill comes out to, like, when it comes to, like, the $600 stimulus check, and how much money was actually in it, and how much was actually going to stimulus? You know what I mean? It literally
I didn't quite understand that either.
It's because what ends up happening of like, hey, man, I need you to be in favor of this. What do we got to do to get you in favor? Well, I need money to this because this is big for my constituents. Like, I think it was Michigan that had like a couple $1 billion of that going into fish hatcheries. And you're like, why the hell is that on there? Well, that's big with this person's constituents. This is going to help them get reelected. And it's just doing that back and forth to try to get as many people on your side as possible. So that bill just keeps growing and growing and growing.
So it was like a couple billion stimulus for the people, and then like almost $1 trillion for the people to get reelected, the politicians.
Of course, it's all self-interest. Like, I mean, that's never going to change. It's like keeping their seat.
Yeah, when you're in politics, your job is to keep your seat. That's what you do.
There needs to be term limits, man. There needs to be term limits.
Well, it just comes down to the simple
okay.
fact of,
let's ask the people. Let's ask the people who would put themselves in their own death to do that. Let's ask the people acting in self-interest to limit themselves.
But that's the thing, dude. When we started, like, the idea, I know it's impossible now, but like the idea is they're public servants. Like, they are supposed to do what we say, and they should not vote on their own pay in retirement. We should vote on that. They should not receive retirement even once they're retired. I think that's dumb. They're public servants. What is the point of that? They're going to keep taking money from us because they serve 2 to 6 years of their life or 40 years of their life. I don't care. They chose to do that. They get like $200,000 a year to do that. That's stupid.
They serve dude. No, we serve them. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. They're supposed to serve us. Yeah. I feel like their pay, each congressman's pay, should represent his district's median wage. Like, you really want to serve your nation, and these people, you really care about them. You're going to make sure they do good, because you'll do good too.
We're going to have a $30 an hour minimum wage.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It just doesn't work. That's the thing. It's just such a complex issue. Like, there's a reason why all government systems have problems, because we can't have the foresight to anticipate the problems. Like, we're working with a broken system as best we can, just like every other government. All systems are broken. We're working the best we can, but it takes a lot to get a new government system. It takes a revolution, and then you revolutionize. Well, what if that system is worse than the system you had before?
I see you, Devin. I see you look at, as soon as you said that, Clayton, the WEF, resetting everything. The World Economy Forum. We're just going to reset the world, dude. You can also just use a pandemic.
No,
That's what I thought.
No,
as soon as Clayton said that.
You clicked on that. No.
I
when
watched
your eyes
whole
lit
thing.
up, I was like, got you. When your eyes lit up, I was like, I swear if you turn this into a Marxism rant, I don't know what to say.
It's not Marxism. It literally just comes down to the fact that, like, the systems we have for government are broken. None of them are flawless. Like, you can't create a perfect system. We're imperfect people. We do the best we can with what we got. The problem is
why we're in the.
I mean, I don't think it matters who you talk to within where they politically lean. They all kind of agree the system is broken. It doesn't work because they don't get their way. But
it's going to be in any system too.
But I don't think anyone's happier.
That's why we're in the middle of the reset.
I mean, I can see an argument for politicians getting paid decently because, yes, you sacrifice time in your life. Well, if we make it to the point of like, okay, well, you can only make the median wage of your district. All right, cool. The only people who can afford to do that are going to be rich people.
That's true.
So it's like, okay, well, I mean, if we do it that way, that just blocks out that side. And it's like you can literally pick apart any idea and come out to the fact that it's not going to be perfect. And then if you try to argue for that, cool, I'm going to just blow up what flaws I can find in your system, and I don't have to offer a solution.
True.
Yeah. I'll be like, this guy wants a median wage. That sounds fine. Well, hold up. 10 years ago on a podcast, he had something to say about homosexuals.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you want to support that? You want to support that? I don't want to support that. I thought his idea was fine. It's like, no, you support everything he's ever said and done. And you don't want to be part of the problem, do you?
Well, I mean, that's
dude,
like,
imagine being on the wrong side of history.
That's a problem with like the sphere in general is like, no, it gets so weird that we're not willing to accept that people can grow and change. Yep. So if I said something 5 years ago to the internet, it's like, that is who I am permanently. It does not matter if I've grown, changed my opinion since there. You're locked in. That's your opinion forever now. That's all people are going to think about, even though it may not be what you believe.
I know that's been going on for years, but I really feel like 2016, like, just put that to a head, dude. Like, everything you could ever think about from Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was brought to the surface and made, like, demonized in the worst way possible. And none of their ideals have changed since the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like, whether you like those two people or not, I feel like that really, like, no one even listened to what they even probably talked about. Like, everyone's like, I saw the video from 87, or I saw a video in 96. Like, I know what they're about.
I mean, it's like if you talk about, like, a political effectiveness, you know how many more, like, I know people that literally only vote Republican over gun issues, and that is it. They're single issue voters, and it's like, you know how many people have 100% views of like Democrats, but because Democrats attack guns, it won't happen. And then like how many people have views of Republicans, but because of where Republicans stand on like social issues and abortion and stuff like that, people won't vote that way. It's literally just like, there are so many issues that I feel that we argue about in government that it's like, why are we still arguing against this? Like, give it up.
Why do we
Stop
care?
taking that stance. That's not what's important.
It's gonna take like some insane reawakening of just emotional intelligence that can only be, it's a crack pipe dream. That, like you're saying, Schwinn, was like, all it was just mudslinging back and forth. Mm-hmm. But again, those things would stop if people could wise up to the fact that it's like, that's literally not what that person said. Or it's like, that was 30 years ago, they've changed but people will not wake up to that, right? For the majority, you can pull people left and right, agitate their emotions, and get them to do what you want. The super straight thing. The super straight thing that blew up my feed for like 2 days. Okay.
Yeah.
And I stayed out of it. Because I don't identify as super straight or whatever, or super anything. But all I wanted to the only thing I wanted to add to the conversation was like, do y'all not see what somebody's trying to do? They are making a meme. They are literally in the screenshots. They're rallying together like, here, we're going to blow it up here, here, and here. We're going to piss this group of people off. Here's how we're going to do it. They're literally laying out their game plan right in front of you, and you're still falling for it. You're literally still like, it's like you were feeding the trolls. People will never stop feeding the trolls. Because I don't think anyone... the trolls,
it makes them look bad to me. But...
Well, that's the thing. They think they're doing the right thing. And I'm like, dude, you are just being trolled. You're just being manipulated right now. And on the other side of the screen, they're just laughing. Because I don't think anybody will really identify that way. But I think there's a few people on the other side of it, emotional intelligence still. There's a few kids that don't know that's a joke. And it's just like they're just trying to piss people off. Mm-hmm. There's some impressionable people that are like, oh, this is a thing? I guess I do identify as that. They're dumb on that side too. You know what I mean? It's like you're feeding the trolls. You're just making it funnier and making it a bigger issue. If you just glazed over it and just acted like it, I don't know. People won't change.
No, dude. I mean, they're always got to make it like personal, you know? Like you can't ever. That's one thing. Like, I mean, I guess I don't know. My family will ever watch this, but I just want to bring up this point. But like my family always have, they always get in political arguments with my grandparents, like everyone, my siblings, uncles, aunts, everyone. Then like I just don't like to talk politics with them. But me growing up, I've always enjoyed it. They are completely opposite for me, like politics wise. But I've always enjoyed hearing what their opinion is, why they think the way they do. I mean, I don't believe that. I mean, just because they believe a certain way doesn't mean they have wisdom. I think they're full of wisdom. I want to know why they believe these things, etc. But I'm able to sit at a table and separate my emotions, like from whenever they attack one of my ideas and be like, try to take in that attack and be like, well, let me see why that makes sense to them, and then he'll make rebuttal and then he'll rebut, and sometimes they'll get a little amped up, but even as a young kid, I was able to be like, well, that's okay. They're just they're just passionate about it, but I do want to hear about it still. Mm-hmm. But like everyone else in the family, but they just, I can't talk. I just get so angry. Well, I get so worked up. I just can't do it.
I think it's because when you talk to them and you're arguing with them, you're arguing in good faith. Like you are talking to them because you want to try to understand their position. You're not arguing to score points. You're discussing with them to try to actually meet somewhere and kind of understand their mindset and hope that they'll actually understand yours. Whereas some people, it's like, I will not give any ground in my argument when it comes to politics and stuff like that. I'm going to hold strong in that stance. I will not let them sway me, even if I'm provided factual evidence that proves my theory wrong.
I still remember.
Well, go ahead. The thing is, like, and even if it's not a political thing, we can have an argue about anything. The problem is it's an emotional intelligence thing. I think still that people identify with their ideas. And when you question their ideas, you are attacking their personality and who they think they are as a person. And they're not going to give you ground on who they think they are. That's detrimental to them. They're like, no, this is my identity. How dare you try to take it? And they take it personal. And it's not a personal attack. I just think what you said was stupid. Or I don't think it's stupid. I'm genuinely curious. Like that was the thing. Like I wanted to engage the conversation of these people arguing about super straight. And I just wanted to be like, do we not think this is just a troll? But I'm like, if I engage this conversation, I am about to get flamed over nothing. I'm going to drag myself into this and I'm not looking for an argument. I'm literally just want to question, why are we getting mad? Why are we feeding the trolls? But I'm like, I know I can't do that online. That is the worst place to try and do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you support them? No.
Well, I mean, it feels like it doesn't even matter online most times nowadays. It's like it
Even in person.
Yeah, it's hard to even have conversations about politics with people. Like, I have groups of friends that I can legitimately talk to who are willing to bat forth this idea and kind of talk with me about it and like give me their stances. Like, me and Quentin used to all the time. We'd talk about it and ask each other how we feel, where we felt it was good, where we felt it was bad. And we were always kind of willing to come up to what we thought was the correct assumption on it. But, like, there are some people where they, like you said, they won't give a little bit of ground because you're attacking their identity is how they feel about it. Like, I don't know. I feel like you got to be malleable and be willing to change for something effective.
You have to have an open mind, bro. You gotta be able to know that you have to realize that you don't know everything, even if you're an old man. I feel like, and I don't know if I should be saying that as a young man, but like, I feel like no one's going to know everything, and a young person can teach old, and old can teach anyone anything, whether, just from the most simple task to something like, I don't know, like, well, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be open to like, I have this wrong, that he's got it right. Like,
well, that's
right. I think also though, not engaging it was another idea that we face on the internet, is that if I engage in this, it could be here forever. Yes. If we have this discussion non-recorded, we can actually probably have an actual discussion, you know what I mean? And like, it just dies there. And somebody can say I said this, somebody can say I said that, believe what you want. But you know what I mean? Like, if I take this chance of going in this conversation online, you know what I mean? Because like, you don't know what links people will go to if you say the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. They'll be like, cool, I'll screenshot this to your employer. Enjoy not being able to provide for your family. The guy who originally posted the TikTok that started the whole super straight thing, his mother received death threats within a day. But nobody's talking about that. I'm not saying the super straight thing is right at all. I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, why is nobody making an issue of, like, I get you might not like what he's saying, and what he's saying is, you could say, is incorrect. Why did you have to send death threats to his mother? Why is that okay? Just because he said something you don't like. That's not okay.
People are going way overboard at that point.
Well, that's also where
and they're like, yeah, we did that.
Well, that's where you get into
She didn't do it. Like,
well, I mean, that's where you get into that free speech dog whistle that happens from the right. You know what I mean? Of people will say things that are messed up, and the right's like, whoa, we have to defend them on this stance. Even though it's because they won't give ground, because they're like, well, it's a slippery slope. And it's like, I agree, it can be, but I mean, I feel like both sides are wrong in the fact that they can't admit that it was wrong to do this and it was wrong to do that on this side. Why can't we agree that both of those things were wrong?
I don't know, dude. I may sound really terrible saying this, but to me, I feel like it is a joke, but the super straight idea, like, I'm only going to love the biological, whatever, like whatever they're born with. To me, it just sounds just as specific and like this is just how I feel. Accept it, love it. To me, that sounds like LGBTQ or whatever. I mean, and I have no problem with that. Like, and if they're attacking these people, like, why do they care? They're loving who they want to love. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because that's the premise. That's the whole joke, and the premise of it is like, we're going to spin that against them, because we're going to argue of like, why are you not being accepting?
Really? I mean,
that's the whole premise of
like Devin's right. That's the idea of like, well, we're saying this just to prove that you truly don't care about that. You only are saying this because it makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like a lot of people do that. The defense is that, well, you can't exclude a group that's oppressed and only prefer a group that isn't. But I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I'm like, I see where you're going with that, but like, there's groups of sexuality that are less oppressed than they used to be, and pretty much almost not oppressed at all at this point in time. So if you were to prefer them, how would that be incorrect? Like, that's like,
yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I see where they were going with that, but I'm like, yeah, but like, at this point, like, no one has a problem with the gay at all.
No, like
you know what I mean? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like gay or bisexual, like that's pretty standard these days. So it's like, but if you were to only
you're not
prefer
bi?
that, would that?
Oh, you're not gay? Like,
Right.
Well, I mean,
no, I mean, yeah, I mean, really.
You can argue
yeah,
though. You can make the same argument though that they are still oppressed because, like, think about it. Racism's now back to being a hot topic again. Same thing. I mean, me growing up, I'm like, well, racism's really not around anymore. You know, it's kind of dead. And then you get it brought to your eyes of like, no, it's not dead at all. And I feel like that's what the LGBT community is trying to do now, is the same kind of thing of like, no, we are not done yet. We are not actually done. We're still being oppressed. And it's like,
yes, and I don't want to take that away because I know a lot of terrible stuff has happened.
It's still happening
throughout history. Yeah, and but I don't know. I feel like Devin was saying, emotional intelligence as a political group or an advocacy group, they should have enough emotional intelligence as an advocacy group to be like, hey guys, let's not even stoop to their level. Let's just keep pushing our message.
Well, it's the same thing though when it's a movement controlled by people who don't fully understand what the actual base of the movement is. The idea of the movement changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like same thing with like Black Lives Matter. In the very beginning, it was very much we're arguing for this. Then you get those bad faith actors who are doing things that then tarnish it, and that's become the, this is the message for it now. This is what we see as the message, even though that's not the message. They've just gotten so many bad people in that group that are taking things way too far, even though that's not what genuinely the group believes.
And that's the side for the other team to pull the narrative, to be like, there you go, you're now the extremist. But what you said a second ago, Clayton, made me think like that makes sense. Like, we think racism is done, but none of us are black.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're like, I don't see racism.
We're not seeing it.
So the same thing for us to be like, for me to be like, well, I don't think they're oppressed. You know what I mean? And I'm not out there like, being a certain type of way. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Racism is definitely still alive and well.
No, I think it's alive and well. But like you were saying, it's like, well, younger, I thought it was done. Also, none of us are black. That's what I'm saying. Like, that makes sense. That made me think of like I don't feel like these people are oppressed. I'm also not. You know what I mean?
You're not in the group. You're not facing the oppression.
Right.
But like my thing is like, I feel the only way to affect change in that is just to focus on myself. I don't need to focus on what everyone else's opinions are of it. The only person I can truly affect is me. So when it comes down to like, I'm not going to oppress a gay person or transgender person, that's not I can only control myself. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on getting it right and try to be as good as I can to them and hopefully get called out if I make a mistake by one. You know what I mean? By any of those people in that sect. Like, if I offend you, like, let me know. Like, I speak from a place of ignorance because I'm not you. I don't understand your issues fully. I want to be able to understand it, but I know that I never fully will. So don't be scared to have a conversation with me and just tell me, hey, man, that was wrong. That was inappropriate. Could you please not do that moving forward? Like, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm going to be like, hey, this is kind of what I was thinking. I'm sorry that you felt that way. Let's try to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
And I agree with you, and I think I might be contradicting myself literally immediately a few seconds later. The problem is when the bad actors, right, they start looking for things to be offended by. I remember I wrote a paper and during the one semester of college about fat shaming, because that was a big thing in 2014. In 2015, that was like the thing, was fat shaming. And it was like the problems with it weren't actual fat people being shamed. The problems that got out of hand were like people by virtue of compliment were facing criticism. Like, this girl said she was fat shamed because she came back to Thanksgiving dinner from college and like her sister got in shape, and they were asking her sister about how she got in shape and that she looks great. By turn, that is now fat shaming her. but no one was like, "Hey, you're fat now." So that's the problem. So, and like, if any group with any group, that's the good. Like when people are like looking, like I need a way to be offended. Is like now we're back to like this is why it's hard to get on board with you.
Well, that's where you start arguing, or like microaggression's a real thing, right? Because that's very technically what that is. It's like, well, you're talking to them, so it's triggering me. That's a microaggression because you're not asking me about me. You know what I mean?
So that could just be that person overthinking that social situation. Like,
yeah, but
they could have anxiety or something, and like it could just be a mother checking on 2 children.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I hope it could be that it's their projection of it, but then you get into the argument: are you wrong? Are you able to tell someone that what they feel is incorrect? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because your mother's now a fat shamer.
Well, should I be allowed to tell you how you should feel about something?
If you feel the need to take someone's life, I'm going to think I have the right to tell you that that's not okay.
Yeah, but
hold on. Before we get to before we get to murdering, okay? Before we get to murdering, let's start with something a little more complex. Yeah, like if you feel the need to express that, I'm going to feel the need to express right back. If I think it will correct the group as a whole, that we're sitting, let's say we are at a table, if it will help the group as a whole, and maybe gain some emotional intelligence about how no one was attacking you, we were literally talking to someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree, but like that's also, it's the same thing in like I bring it up in our relationship, and I've said it from the very beginning with me and my girlfriend, is know that when I say something or do something that upsets you, I am not intentionally doing that thing just to upset you. I wouldn't do that because I care about you. It's hard to like convince, but she understands that. She still gets upset, but we talk about like, no, that's not what I meant at all. The only reason I said it was this way because of this. Like, I didn't mean that as a slight towards you. But it's this, like, I mean, it takes, like Devin's been saying, it takes emotional intelligence to be able to have that conversation with that person.
Yeah. And what's funny is one of the arguments I made in the paper was, and I only remember this because I came across it, was like, no one is fat shaming you by putting skinny people on billboards. That was a huge thing about fat shaming. And I said, no one is fat shaming you by doing that. They just know what sells. Obviously, that's what's selling. They're just going to stick with it. And I was like, the day they put Big Bertha on the billboard and that starts selling, then we'll have that. 7 years later, you will see that now. You'll see, the plus size models and everything like that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is funny that like back then I was like, look, when it starts selling, they'll do it. And they're doing it.
Well, I mean, it's the same argument of just they want representation, regardless of whether.
Fine.
And that comes with anything, is it comes down to representation. Like, same thing, I get it. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. But their argument is like, why is it that it doesn't sell? That's kind of not fair because there are normal people out there. It will sell. And they're like, well, no. We've got a formula that's working. Why would we change it? And I feel like that's more their argument of like, it will sell. You're just being ignorant to the fact.
I do agree with you on that, Wags. I mean, I know there's like certain like brands in women's clothing that are like always made, even if it's like a higher size, always made to basically this certain limited, maximum size or whatever.
But I think it's just the fact of like, I don't think it necessarily comes down to the fact of just simply like, this is what sells. I feel it's also people being like, this can sell too. You've just only been doing this and you refuse to even try this, and that's what we have a problem with.
The other day I was at Target and I saw plus model photos up on the clothing area.
But exactly. Like we said, it's changed because of social pressure. But I feel like that's where that social pressure comes from. I don't think it's like, there's a degree to which, like, I agree, like, we shouldn't be supporting someone that's that big. Like, they're causing a ton of health problems, and to deny that that's wrong. Like,
at a certain point, it is a health issue, yes.
Yes, it's like, I get it. If you're a little bit bigger, that's fine. But when it gets to a point that, like, it's a real health issue and your doctor can't can't have that conversation with you because it might be an aggression towards you and fat shaming. You know what I mean? Like, it can become a very slippery slope.
At that point, it's a mental problem, in my opinion. Like, you gotta
and that
deal
was
with yourself.
At that time. That was part of the things on my paper too. Was that they had trauma stories of the doctor trying to tell them, like, you're at a point that this is detrimental to you, and they're like, they shouldn't be able to say that without triggering. You know what I mean? So that was all that was. But no, like the other thing is too, it coming into prevalence is because back then you have to convince an ad. They're about to dump a couple million into an ad. It's not just one. So it's like, you got to be like, will it sell? You know what I mean? So yeah. And then again, social pressure and, some people taking the leap of faith onto it. That's fine. Right. This is a normal thing to see in ads now. And, nothing against it. Like, whatever. Like I don't really care either way. Trust me, I got nothing against big girls, but like, it's like,
I've always had a theory that the expectations that, like, that all women are supposed to have this hourglass figure. I feel like that expectation comes from women. Now, okay, I don't want to be like, oh, it's a man-run world, and it's a man saying this, but there are so many, or just like thick, chubby, plus size, completely overweight women that are like have a fan base or people that appeal to them and will pay them, like, are attracted to that. It's just not like a mainstream. It hasn't been a mainstream idea, but now that the internet freedom exists, for the last 20 years, it's like dudes don't really have a problem with that. Like, I've never met someone that's like, that's disgusting.
I feel like it's mainly like their argument for it, and I kind of agree to it to a degree, is that it comes down to, like, when it comes to that hourglass figure, like, they've done studies on it. Men only like it to a certain degree. Now, the internet has slowly morphed that and changed that, but the reason why we were that way is because of biologically, that's what we believe. Like, we look for someone with wider hips because we know they're going to be better at birthing children. Like, there's certain qualities that our unconscious brain is registering and helps establish why you're attracted to certain things. Now, there's always going to be deviations within that, and the internet is slowly morphing how we see that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but in the beginning, that's kind of why it was that way.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, it's like you take those features and exaggerate them to get more, clicks, purchases, whatever metric you're needing.
So what's crazy is in that whole thing, there is a certain point to where it became so unrealistic that they had a spectrum of, like, what do you think is attractive? And each time they'd slightly exaggerate the figure. And then once it gets to a certain point, there's a massive drop off because the figure's too exaggerated.
As for a guy's body, biologically, they're looking for, like, a certain shape because, again, it's like a primal instinct of, like, can this male, there you go, can this male provide, can he hunt, whatever. At that, it's like a biological thing. But same thing, when it gets exaggerated, like a pro, like, IFBB bodybuilder that is just like 3% body fat. Yeah. And
no
you know what I mean? Like, your very average person is not attracted to that. You should, like, literally not attracted to that. So yeah, it's exaggerated to such a degree. It's like, okay, the diminishing returns, or even just the bell curve drop off.
It's almost like maybe I don't know, but like they make us think that's what we're attracted to in a weird way. But like you said, the average person probably isn't. Like, if they met him face to face, they'd probably be like, I don't know. Do I like that dried skin with all the veins coming out? I don't know.
I mean, you think it's dried, bro? I think they oil it up constantly.
I think, like, most people, no. I think the only people looking at those people are other dudes, all right? And then, like, the three, the very few IFBB, the women's division, you know what I mean? Like, that too, because they're in that same mindset, in that same division of, this is what our bodies look like. Well, but I think the average person,
I also feel like the reason why the average person isn't overly into that, because the average person isn't ever looking to get that big. so they don't fully understand the mindset. But I feel like if you're in that sphere, like even as a female to a male, if you're in that sphere, it's more that you're attracted to the fact that they're that dedicated to something. That's what you find attractive.
It is that.
Yeah.
100%. Like you're like, okay, this guy's willing to go to this level. You know, whatever. You know, it's like, you know, that's with everything. It's with wealth. It's with skateboarding, you know, guitar, you can name it. There comes a degree where it's like normal people aren't allowed in this group at this level.
Yeah.
This is the very bottom of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
There's some ugly musicians, but made some sweet love to many a women. Because there's
no, I don't mean no. I'm saying like a level of skill that music that doesn't sound good to the average listener. Because I was talking to Clayton about this earlier. Like I showed him this guy remade a Polyphia song in Minecraft, which is just crazy, right? But you know, we just kind of went on that tangent of like the thing that's great about Polyphia is that they know how to write complicated music that sounds good to your average person.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most people, when they get good, they just make complicated music for the sake of making complicated music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've gone down that rabbit hole before, but that's the same thing. That's the point I was getting at. Average person isn't attracted to your IFBB bodybuilding pro too much. You know, the whole dad bod thing had its heyday like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's definitely like it's kind of a level of respect, and that's why you're attracted to it. You know what I mean? But I feel like that goes for anything. If you're overly, you know, enticed by something, eventually, like that's what you start looking at. You start respecting the thing. Same thing if you're like watching.
That's what I was trying to say about the musician.
Well,
like they're so good, even if they're ugly. Like that's what they're attracted to.
But it's for a different reason.
You're
like, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, like I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I just feel like it was like
okay.
it was so off kind of the point that it didn't lead in well, and that's what kind of got Devin. Like I understood what you were saying, but it's the same thing. Devin misread it. But
that's okay. That's like a status thing, though. You know what I mean?
I mean, is
He's
it
attractive because
like
of that status?
Said, well, like what Clayton's saying, though, they have so much dedication to this one particular avenue. I mean,
it's like
I don't know.
it goes for anything.
It could be a status thing.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be just like you're attracted to that. I mean, same thing. Like Devin got really into watching people be really good at skating. Why? Because they were dedicated in that field, and he respected the work they put in because he understood the work. Whereas, like, you look at your average person, like, I think it's like skateboarding viewership was never really extremely high, but you have a dedicated base because they respect it because they do it. Like, it has to translate well.
I think with the musician thing, though, like, what if that person doesn't know the level of skill that musician actually has? They're just a rock star. They're just an ugly rock star, but it's like it's a fame card that you'll never have, and like that out trumps whatever you have. A status thing of that nature.
Oh, yeah,
like I'm famous.
Well, it's the idea of like I feel like it comes down to being able to bat out of your league in a way. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter.
Right. It's like
I've done it.
If I could pull that.
Yeah.
Right. I could pull it. You know. Yeah.
It's like an ego thing.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of that.
I feel like it comes out of ego to a bit.
It's a little primal too.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that in there.
Oh, I'd say primal for the musician, ego for the person. That's what I'd have to say. Because I mean, as a musician, you probably can you can just pick, bro. You probably got plenty. And the person's just like, this is it's a status thing. Like that, like you said, they're about to achieve a goal.
Well,
the musician's just trying to relax for the night.
You know what's weird about that though is like I feel like it's a thing not in normal like sphere of celebrity, but on YouTube, if you find a viewer in your fan base and you do that, you are ostracized for it. You're a horrible person. What you did was wrong. You definitely only were able to do this because you had power over them. But I feel like if you do it in like a normal sphere, being a celebrity, oh, he fell in love with a normal person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of weird to think that it's a different standard on YouTube.
It's almost because everyone can. What is it?
Crystalia.
I don't know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I feel like it's a different kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen with every celebrity. You know what I mean? I feel like, I don't remember Crystalia's too much, but if I recall correctly, there was some of it was like fake, some of it was kind of actually a little bit shady and a little bit weird.
So, basically, like, some of it was like what was allegedly fake, hopefully, was like the underage grooming. But I think even outside of that, people didn't like him just being creepy overall, emailing girls like, hey, I'm in your town or whatever. But again, like, you run that risk as a celebrity, I think, any point in time now in this day and age. Like, and it just depends who you are. Because James Franco got in trouble for it. And, like, literally, a few nights later, he was on the Tonight Show and was just like, I'm sorry. And everyone's like, yeah.
I feel like
he just got off scot-free.
I feel like it also comes down to if you're clearly seeking it out. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you're at a show and that person happens to be there and that's what you'll do, you can get away with that because that's kind of a conscious decision. You didn't really affect it. They showed up. That's what happened. Whereas, like, if I'm emailing you about it, it's clear intent from the very beginning. You know what I mean? There's no plausible deniability.
It's because it's on paper. I mean, to be honest, like, that's what it is. Because, like, he said in his apology was like, he's like, I got greedy with my fame. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, because, like, you're saying, like, oh, you just pick. He got to that level that was like, I'm going to be in this town. Let me message everyone that's in this town. Like, just come to the hotel room.
Well, I mean, you also got to think it's a power level thing. So, like, if we take it out, it's a power level thing. So if you look at, like, the reason why everyone was so outraged over Clinton having sex with Monica Lewinsky, it's a power thing. She was just an intern. Like, it was such a power thing because it was like, clearly you took advantage of that person, even if it was consenting. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where, like, consent kind of gets weird to me to a degree. Is it's like, what do you do if you're at that power? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you chose that power. What if you feel like you're genuinely forming a connection with this person, but everyone else thinks it's because of the power? Like, how do you determine what's fair? You know what I mean? It kind of gets muddy in the waters at that point.
That's one thing I wonder, like,
are you limited to only being with people who are somewhat close to your level? Like, is that fair to cut off that section of the dating pool to them if that's where their true love actually is? But because it's cut off, they're not allowed to have that anymore.
It's probably a sacrifice they might have to make, dude, because, they try to date a normal person. Like, they face, obviously paparazzi and everything, but it's like, for the normal person also, that normal person has to be extremely solid in who they are, because that normal person knows I'm dating a celebrity who's always around other celebrities with more star power than me, more fame, more status. You're always going to be thinking that, you know what I mean? Like, I think Lady Gaga's boyfriend was like just a regular dude. You know what I mean? So, but it always, like, you see celebrities date, it's always, it's news.
I feel like that's also a weird thing, though, too, is, like, I feel like if a woman does it, it's not as big of a deal. I don't know how to describe that, but you know what I'm saying. I just feel like for some reason it's not a big deal, even if they have power over the man. I guess it's just not looked at because of society's perception on men right now.
Well, it's the connection of everything that makes it weird, of course, the paper trail, right? People were making fun of Drake because he was texting Billie Eilish since he was like 16 or 17. You know what I mean? Like, saying that he was grooming her.
Trouble because he literally did groom like a 16-year-old girl who was not Billie Eilish. I thought that's what he got flack for.
Oh,
because
that's
he made
right.
Out
He
with
was
like
like
a
having
16-year-old girl like on stage or something like that.
No, I don't think they made out, but he did like have dinner. I think he had like a dinner date, I think, with like a young, like an underage person. But yeah, he's been accused of grooming.
Yeah.
He's been accused of grooming before.
But it's a like, he never really acknowledged it to the, like, if I believe correctly, he never truly acknowledged it, so it didn't stick.
It depends. Again, it depends who you are. Like, some people you will crash and burn. Like the James Franco thing. Like he literally like I said, he just went on late night and the next day was like, I'm sorry, and everyone's like, yeah, but I'm like, dude, I feel like that shouldn't work for everybody.
Well, even if you go back further, you can look at R. Kelly. They literally had it on tape that he, had sex with an underage girl and like urinated on her. Got away scot-free. You know what I mean? Didn't get in trouble with it because he had so much power and had such big sway. People were willing to look past it.
Dude, but it's the day and age.
I think Trump proved that point, man. You can look past anything.
I would say the day and age and the Internet of Things, because Elvis's wife was like stupid young.
I mean, was it FDR married his cousin? I don't know, dude. This is weird stuff.
I don't know about that, but yeah, no,
Elvis it was. Yeah,
I'm pretty.
That was his cousin, dude.
I want to say Quentin's right, but the weird thing about like that is like I forget what it is, but there's a point within the family tree that it's so far removed that biologically it has no effect. Like the whole reason incest is like so taboo is because it causes so many genetic problems if it's so close. But if I recall correctly, I think it's like if it's like a second cousin or something like that, it won't muddy the waters at all, which is weird. But that's still super taboo.
Yeah, I mean that's like all ancient royalty, dude. You gotta keep the bloodline pure. Like brothers, sisters, cousins, don't matter. Dude, really. Look at the French royalty, England, all of them, dude. It's crazy. And that's why you wonder why you have mad kings, like they're incest.
So Elvis's wife was 14. Like he was hooking up with her when she was 14. He was 24.
Dang.
But again, back then, if there was Instagram DMs and all that stuff back then,
he'd be boot.
You know what I mean? Like different scenario.
Well,
this 14-year-old would be like, Elvis messaged me.
I don't know, because like I feel like back then it wasn't as taboo. Because like you think about like, I mean, even if we take it further, look at the 70s. Like high school teachers were having sex with high school students constantly. That was
still happens today.
Well, I'm saying like in the 70s though, that was like normal thing. They never really got in trouble for it. It was kind of par for the course, which is weird to think.
I personally knew of one happening in our school that happened for like a year. So, and someone drove them. Like it's crazy, dude. It happened. A sophomore with a coach, he had a family and everything. Same.
I think what's crazy is like, well, one, I still think it's 24 and 14 is weird, but like I think it is funny with the whole teacher thing is that. If it happens to a guy, we're like,
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to like people feeling like men are always in control. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the power dynamic.
It is what it is.
The power dynamic is always in favor of the man, but like I feel like
we created the world.
Well, I feel like that's the wrong way to look at it. You know what I mean? Because like I look at it, I'm like that's kind of disgusting. That's not. It shouldn't be happening. Like.
I mean, if I had a son and he was like 14 and that happened with one of his female teachers, I would probably be upset and go off on that teacher. And after time passed and he learned that was wrong, I'd be like, give me nuts, boy.
See, my thing is, I would never see the only reason why I could never do that is the fact that it comes down to, like we discussed earlier, the power dynamic. You know what I mean? His brain is not fully formed to understand like he was easily manipulated. You know
that's what I'm saying. I would make sure he realized like what happened was wrong. Like, oh, that's gonna happen, and then
you reinforce the fact
I can't
of what
lie
he did
and
was
be
cool.
like, I wouldn't be like, hey, bro. I mean, it's your son, dude. It's gonna happen.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just like my opinion on that is like, okay, cool. You're reinforcing bad behavior. You know what I mean? If you want that dynamic to change, harping him and then giving him props.
It.
You know what I mean?
Like, don't ever do that again. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, what's his teacher's name? What's his teacher's name? Yeah. Give me her number, son. I'll make sure this doesn't happen.
I don't know.
Where does she live?
Weird. But I also think it's very weird that like you can be like a 16-year-old and a 16-year-old like, or no, I think it's like I forget what it is. I think it's like you could be 16 with another 16-year-old and engage in sexual intercourse in some places, or like even if you go with like Texas, you can be 17 and I can have sex with anyone above that age, and that's perfectly fine. But if I'm 17 and I send that person nudes, that's an issue, because now I've just distributed child pornography, but we're allowed to have sex, but we can't take pictures. Like, it's kind of weird to think that's a thing.
Dude, there's still, I believe there are like 1 or 2 states where you can still marry under the age of 18 with the parents' consent. Like if their parents sign off, like they can marry their son or daughter off to you at like, I think like 14 or 15, even if you're an
What
adult.
parents are signing that? That's crazy.
I mean,
it could be religious reasons. It could be like it's a family thing, like it's arranged. Who knows?
well, I mean, yeah, you can come down to like culturally, like, oh, that's their culture. Who are we to interfere? You know what I mean? Like, just like how
But it's still, I
arranged
still don't
marriages
agree
or
with
things.
it. It's like America as a country is past that, I feel like. But
If I have to
there's
sign
still-
a permission slip for you to get married, you're too young to make the decision. Now, again,
Yeah.
1 year from that date, you can make the decision on your own. But I would literally give that speech to my kids. Like, if I'm signing a permission slip, like it's you going on a field trip, you're obviously too young to make this decision.
Yeah.
So no,
I don't know.
you're gonna get married.
I'm kind of in the camp of like I get it to
That's
a
how it
degree,
hap-
because like you're not thinking the scenario of like this guy's 18, they're 16. You know what I mean? You're thinking like to the extreme in your brain of like this guy's 26 and she's 16. You know what I mean?
Well, so
Oh,
the
no.
reason,
Like, I don't
reason
disagree.
I
I
brought
think
that
like
up-
18 and 16 is a weird age to get married, but there's also like there are couples out there who are a lot older now where that's what they did and they wound up 100% happy. But I also understand the argument of like, why couldn't you just wait 2 more years?
So, I mean, 16 and 18, if you're in high school, is pretty. I think that's kind of normal.
But I think most of the time when something like that happened where it was 16 and 18, at least back in the day, what it was is like, hey, I have to move and I won't be able to afford to come back because my career's taking me to different states, but I do want to spend the rest of my life with her. So
you just get married
let
then.
me get married so that I can take her with me,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about her.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, bro.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my thing is like it's weird, but I can see some of the arguments that go into it. I can see the argument of like, why can't you wait? But I feel like some of those scenarios, like there are some scenarios where that fits, and it's like, okay, that makes sense in that scenario.
Yeah. Like that's never.
Even
But if
then-
like say like, I mean, I don't know how specific I can get here, but if y'all remember our associate or acquaintance from back in the day that was like in 8th grade dating a senior, that was weird. And if that dude, you know, when he graduated, if he still continued to see her, like that's weird. Like you're like, I don't know, but like
I mean, I
that's
think
weird
even,
to me. But then if you're 20 and 24, that's so weird. Like that's like, all right, that's normal.
Well, I think it comes down to people's perception of like when you've become a full-fledged adult. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I feel like once
Yeah.
you've hit a certain threshold, it's like, okay, like if I'm 50 and want to date a 20-year-old, that's my decision. We're both fully developed human beings. Like we're adults, our brains have formed enough. Whereas like when it's younger, it's kind of weird because it's like their brain's not fully formed. We get that the age gap is there, but you don't really know who you are as a person yet. So it's where it comes into that power dynamic of like, if my brain's more formed than yours, now I have more life experience, I'm easily able to manipulate you.
Yep. And then
but I just think that's
go ahead.
like 18. I don't know. I can't picture myself being 18 attracted to a 13-year-old. I just don't even see that.
Put yourself back in high school though. I mean, like it's your first day of senior year and then a freshman walks. That's pretty much what it was, dude. I remember being a freshman. Like all the seniors prey on the freshmen. Like it's weird, bro.
And that wasn't me either.
I always
That
find
wasn't
that
me either.
dynamic
They
weird.
look like children.
Yeah,
See,
ours looked really weird when they came in.
For me, I
Every
was
year.
It was a relationship, but
I don't know. I always felt weird about that, but like I was like a senior. I don't know, a senior with a sophomore for some reason didn't bother me as much. Senior with junior kind of normal, but like senior with freshman to me, it was like
It was strange.
it was strange, but I also kind of get the idea of like if it's a genuine connection, cool. But if it's literally like I know it's gonna be easy, I can get in. That's what I'm trying to do.
I feel like a lot of it.
That's like there's some people.
A lot of
where-
it had to have been that, dude, because a
Yeah,
4-year
it is.
difference as a child or like as a teenager is big in your brain. But like as an adult, like, I mean, working with someone that's 4 years younger or 4 years older, I feel like we're on the same playing field. Like, it doesn't feel like they're taking advantage of me or they are like, oh, this person's like an innocent little child. Like, it's whatever.
It's
Like, we're
also
all the
hard.
same.
It's hard to judge people's intent, right? You know what I mean? Like, it would have been weird, but like, let's say it was someone like you. Like, I know you're doing it for the right reasons. You genuinely feel a connection with this person, but we also know there were a bunch of high schoolers that we saw doing that, and we knew it was only for one reason. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of also understanding the intent behind it is also what kind of is weird. Whereas outside looking in, you always go with the worst assumption on it. Like,
Sure.
I'm not saying it's
Dude,
okay.
I
I'm
knew-
saying most of the time that might be correct and you have the right stance, but it's also weird knowing that, you know, that could not be their intent at all.
Dude, I knew a sophomore dating a 23-year-old.
I think I
And
knew
I'm
that same
like-
sophomore.
No, this was at my school.
Oh, okay. Well, we also have another acquaintance that was in the same
Right.
situation. we all know that acquaintance. We all know that acquaintance. We
Bro,
all,
No, I actually
all
don't.
know.
I actually
It's
don't
funny
know that
to
one.
me
I
'cause
don't
you're-
know that.
What's-
You're about to go acquaintance and be like, they look like this, dress like this. Like,
What's funny to me
No,
is like,
no.
It's probably
this is
up in
different
the
one at my
bank. That's
school.
all I'm gonna say. It's probably in the
It's
bank
just-
for both of you.
it's funny because like I can tell Devin's thinking the same thing as me. He's like, dude, I know we all know this person. That's like, I no clue, but
I
I'll
actually
take your
don't.
word
I-
for
I
it that
do
we
don't.
do. I don't deny it. So I look
I'll just
forward
put
to
it-
finding
no,
out
no,
at the
I'll just
end.
put it-
There
I'll
was
put it in the
one
chat.
at
Y'all
no,
see.
there was one at my school, but it did weird me out because I was like, why? Like
Now
it
you'll
just
see.
it couldn't wrap my. And it was a girl, and she was dating, of course, an older guy. Because no 23-year-old girl is going to go perusing a high school for some guy.
Mhm.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I think that goes without saying. But yeah, I'm like, what? Like, is that not creepy to you?
Mhm.
You know? So I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. To a degree, it's weird. Like, there's a certain age gap where, like, I don't know. I'm kind of like the 4-year kind of thing of like 4 years in a certain section makes sense to me, but it's also kind of gets weird, man. It's a complex issue.
I mean, it's just once you hit that 20, it's once you hit the 20s to me, you know, and then after that, it's like one thing I saw
So-
online is complete bro science. It's like half your age plus 5 or whatever.
Dude,
So it's like for
I
us, it'd be
mean-
like 20.
Selena always gives me shit because I was 23 or 20.
Mhm.
Yeah, 23, I think, when I met her, and she was 19. No, 24. And she was 19. And we got together.
Well,
It's
I mean,
something,
I
yeah,
don't
but
know,
still,
dude.
it's something
To
about
me,
that
it
19
comes-
to 20 range, though.
but it also kind of comes down to too, like like how Devin's brought it up, emotional intelligence level. You know what I mean? Your maturity. Like, there's a point
Oh,
in which,
dude,
like,
she's
if
yeah.
you're at a certain level of maturity, you're going to be looking for people around your age. Now, there
feel
will be
like-
those
yeah.
people who are below who match that maturity level, and you're like, okay, I can have a conversation with this. But it's one of those
Yeah.
things where that's a select case versus the other 90% where it's like, no,
True.
they're not on the same
Yeah.
level.
She does have like a very unique life. I do feel like she's experienced like the amount of experience she's had in her lifetime is like something like someone of our age or even older has experienced. The things she's been
Mhm.
through. This is what puts her where she's at. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think
I've
it's
learned a
just
lot.
crazy. I think it's funny too how relationships kind of are when you're younger too. Is like you think this person's your whole world, and eventually you kind of learn like you got to be self-sufficient to a degree. Like they need to be
Yeah,
a
you
big
gotta love
part
yourself,
of it,
man.
but yeah, you gotta rely on yourself to take care of you.
You have to love yourself.
You can't always rely on someone else to make you happy, regardless of whether you're in a relationship or not. Like, it's good that that person can do that for you, but you can't do it to the fullest degree of, like, I expect them to make every moment amazing.
No, because I mean, in my experience, that puts too much pressure on that person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't expect someone to carry you 100%. You got to meet in the middle, bro. Like, because if you do, you'll crash and burn, and you won't like. You'll think it's their fault, then you'll think it's your fault, and I mean, it really is your fault. Like, you can't do that. You got to be able to pick yourself up.
But it's
but
crazy
that's the whole point is you grow together, you support each other. Like,
but that's what's crazy is, like, when you think about it, like, outside looking in, and your parents always look at you like, God, you're such a dumb kid that you don't understand. Like, think of your first heartbreak, right? Your first major heartbreak hurts so bad, but your parents were looking at you like, oh, Jesus Christ. He's an idiot. Dude, he just doesn't see it yet. He doesn't understand this is a part of growing up. Like, this is a part of life.
So something my mother told me, she told it to me like 2 or 3 years ago, and I think about it all the time. Like, when I talk to customers that are younger, or people tell me about situations that go on with, like, their kids that are younger or something. And she told me, she's like, Q, if I could just take my experiences and what I've been through and my knowledge and just put it in your brain. Because she's like, sometimes I say stuff and you're just like, that's not what it is. Like, you just have to experience it yourself. But if I could just put it there, she's like, you could just change everything, like, for the better. Like, if you could just see it, but sometimes, like, you just have to go through it. And that's why they say, like, that
experience.
Yeah. Energy is wasted on the young and experience is wasted on the old, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, it makes sense.
I think, like, yeah, I mean, a lot of things in life you have to, and if you did have all that experience at once, you wouldn't want it, because then you've already had it. It's when you get to that point, when we're playing a game of Magic, we already know the outcome. We'll call it a draw right there, or we'll call the victor right there. We know where this is going. So to be given those experiences right away, life would be harder for you, because now you'd be like, well, what else do I do?
Yeah, I mean, I had a customer tell me the other day that their kid is like 16 or 17, and he wants to drop out and get a GED. He's in like the 10th grade, and he has a kid. He has a baby. And I was like, and she's like, I just don't know what to do. He's almost a grown man, can't do it. Like, if he wants to drop out, he can drop out. I'm like, I literally thought what my mother told me. I was like, I wish I could take what I've experienced and put it in this kid's head. Like, hey, man, it's not all that great when you get out of high school. Like, it's not what you think. You have more freedom now. You might as well use that while you're still living at home to, like, build yourself, because you're just going to get out and it's not that fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of this understanding is, like, when you're a kid, you're not relying on yourself. Other people are providing everything for you. Whereas, like, once you're an adult and you realize, like, dude, I've got to provide for me. Like, you no longer get to just kick back and have fun all the time. You've got to work for everything. You've got to work for those experiences. But at the same time, like, high school was really enjoyable, but my life after high school now, it's more rewarding because
I'm not saying I would live there
forever,
but it makes me sad to hear that, like, a young kid wants to give up those last 2 years. Like, that's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just want to jump straight into that makes me sad. It's like, you're missing out on a lot. I feel like you're missing out on a lot of experiences. Maybe not education, but experience with your peers and figuring out who you are,
but
like, and where you want to go.
Here's the side argument, though. He kind of ruined that for himself by having a kid that young. You know what I mean?
True.
He ruined being able to have that experience.
And also, what he might be thinking is that he might have instincts taking over of, like, the sooner I get in the workforce, the sooner I could probably figure a career out for this kid. So he's probably not concerned about smoking out of a Pepsi can senior year. Probably not on his list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And probably prom, doesn't matter if he goes to prom. You know what I mean? So, like, it's two things. It's your perspective, but that's what makes us unique, is your perspective. So your perspective is like, but those are crucial last 2 years. His perspective is like, I will completely sacrifice that for what I have going on now. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of both, man. I agree. Yeah. It's a little bit of both, and he's going to have that experience, right? He's going to have the getting in the workforce early. And then when his kid gets that age, he's gonna be like, dude, don't have a kid yet.
Yeah.
Finish high school because I didn't. Your dad didn't. I want you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how that chain gets rolling, man. It is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I always think it's weird to those people that hold on to high school. You know what I mean? Like, I always, like, we always discussed how we never wanted to be the people that look back at, like, high school was the greatest thing we ever did. But I like to look back on it fondly and, like, think about the times I had. Like, there were a lot of high points and a lot of good high points.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said, I feel like now that I'm an adult and I'm having to provide for myself and stuff, it's so much more rewarding than I think a lot of people give it credit for. Like, there's that fact of, like, working super hard and being able to take care of the things you care about. Like, being able to provide your own stable home for yourself and have kind of financial freedom to a degree. Like, it feels good. It feels rewarding. You put in work and you're seeing something for that work.
I think, like, one thing, too, is that some people, they never understand the self-providing thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see it all the time in the workforce of people who don't push themselves, people who have no ambitions and goals. And it's like, they probably didn't learn that in high school. And I don't, it's weird to think high school being more important than I thought it was going through it. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, classes are too easy. This is too easy. Like, this is boring. I don't want to do AP. I just want to get by with the easy grades. I take my easy wins. But I was dedicated to things outside of that. I was dedicated to skating. I was dedicated to yearbook and graphic design. So I still, like, there's always something driving me. And what's funny is I think about high school as like you have to think about high school as a workforce in the sense, like, you need to figure out social dynamics there. And maybe if you don't figure out there, maybe you figure it out in college. But, like, I wouldn't consider myself a popular kid, but I knew what I needed to do to get into certain groups of people, the groups that I wanted to get into. And, like, you need to know that when you get into the workforce. You need to know that to play company politics. Mm-hmm. So, like, you can kind of see now the kids who didn't figure it out then, not much might have changed. Now, high school doesn't define you. You can grow and from there, but, like, for the most part, you can kind of see, like, who's going to be where, and they still kind of move the same.
Well, see, like, I agree with you to a degree, but there's also, like, I don't think that's true for, like, every popular kid. Because, you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. I would consider myself that I was popular in high school. Like, a lot of people knew who I was. A lot of people talked to me. Like, I consider myself semi-popular.
Yep.
But, bro, I fell into that role. I never did it intentionally. I never acknowledged what I was doing that got me there. So now that I'm in, like, the workforce, even though I was a popular kid, I'm not popular in the workforce because I never acknowledged why I was the way that I am. Like, the best way I can describe the reason why I was popular is people are forced to be around me long enough, you end up liking me. Like, I grow on people.
I would say it's your humor,
so I think,
bro. But
well,
your
I
humor
think
attracts a lot, but
it's how you're thinking about it too. Because, like, here's what I mean by that too. Some of the popular kids, why are they popular? Because their parents are rich and they could afford certain clothing, and they were just there in the group at the right place, right time. You see them not doing anything currently because they were just thrusted into that, and they never made a skill. They don't, you know what I mean? Same thing. Like, they just move with the group. But then there was a few, you know what I mean, that do have ambition, that do have some type of thing they're working on, and they understood how to use that. So it depends how you're looking at it.
That's why, like, growing up, I feel like, you know, like, non-popular. Like, if anyone recognized me or knew me, is because they knew Chase or Clayton or Devin, even in the high school. Like, but I always, like, I like to, like I feel like you three and Blake and Tyler, like, I don't know, dude. I feel like I, like, went through, like, I'm like, these are the individuals that I'm gonna associate myself with. Like, I don't care about being with a group. I don't care about fitting in with a group. It's like, these individuals all bring something that, like, I want to learn from, or, like, there's something great about them that I love to be a part of me, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what group y'all, like, y'all all had y'all's groups, but, like, my goal was to bring y'all in and, like, to glue y'all together, because I felt like each one of y'all had this extremely unique set of traits that no one else had. like, and y'all are more self-aware about everything, you know? And I don't know, I was never
But that's
popular, but like,
that's exactly
I
the
really
point.
wanted to focus on like this select group of people. Like, it was like five people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 5 people. Like, I was like, these are the people. I know they're gonna go
Yeah, but
somewhere. I had multiple teachers my whole school career like, stop hanging out with Chase and Devin. Stop hanging out with Chase, Devin, and Clayton. Stop doing it. 6th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. Y'all are all more successful than me. And I say that proudly, bro. I am proud of my group of friends, dude. I think it's great when y'all do good, dude.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's that you don't understand your talent that you had for that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I was just about to say, it bothers me you don't capitalize that.
You picked us all out, and you look at it as like, that's what I was in high school. But you don't understand that that's a strength for you. The ability to take a team. Because to be honest, we're all very different people. We all hung out with very different people. But you were able to bring us all together and form a connection and a
dude.
bond with
I love that.
Like, you were a great team builder.
I liked when everyone, like, we came together. Like, that's, I don't know, like in like 5th through 7th grade, Chase and Devin like formed a bond. And then like 6th grade, I know Tyler and Chase formed their bond. And then like high school freshman year, we got Clayton. And then everyone just started forming, like, we had these individual bonds, but then when we come together as a group, I remember my brother wanted to do his college project on us. He's like, you guys are just interesting to listen to. Like, y'all's banter off each other's brains. Like, y'all are just so different, but somehow we just clicked. I don't know, dude.
But that's like when we were texting that one night and we're talking about making a show. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, that's why you should direct or be the head honcho of a project like that, because you can see those things and you can put the right people in the right places. If you think about, you know, at the end of the day, what you know, most leaders or good leaders are, or good projects stem out of, is putting the right people together, right? Because there's some people who want to do it all themselves, but there's others that are just like, actually, I can just find the right people, and that's fine. So that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, that's what I'm saying. You should get on making the animated show, because you would find the right voice actor. You would find the right animator. You know what I mean? You're like, you make the most sense to this project. Like, no, your style doesn't fit this.
Well, I think it also comes down to the simple fact, too, of like when Devin was saying about like being the best director. Like, when it comes down to movies and stuff like that, they don't just go with the best. They go with people that are going to work well together. They're not just like, give me the best guy to work cameras, give me the best guy to do audio, give me the best writer, give me the best this. Because if those people's visions don't match up and they can't connect in some way and they all have a different vision, it won't lead to anything. Your thing is that you're very good at finding people, putting them together, and they all work well together to enhance the project. You don't look for just the best. You look for people that are going to add a unique dynamic and be able to understand what the other person's vision are and help change that vision to where it needs to be.
Dude, I mean, it's like, so Blake and Tyler were like music people, but then some certain nights Tyler and Devin would get together and they'd write a song, or they'd make a Guitar Pro song or something like that. Like, that shit got me excited, bro. Like, dude, I feel like at our age, we were creating. I mean, I know, Clayton, you're like, don't live in High Square. I don't even know if it's High Square. It's just my childhood. My childhood, I'm probably like a loser for saying this, but it's extremely important to me. My childhood growing up, and I consider that from like, 8 to 18, like, it's very important to me. Like, I cherish that.
I'm not saying that it's not important, but what I'm saying is to hang your hat as that is your greatest achievement. That's what I consider weird. It's like, why do you not expect more from yourself? And that's where I get to the point that it's like, I feel like it's unhealthy to be fully hanging your hat on something in the past rather than looking what you can do in the future. Like, you can do better. You're capable of that. Don't limit yourself to just that. Whereas I feel like some people limit themselves to like, I peaked in high school. That's what I did. That's why I love high school, because all they focused on was what used to be. Yeah.
Well, so I don't think that. I do definitely think I'm a better person than I was then. Like, 100%.
And that's
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like I look back on it and I have nostalgia and I'm grateful for those times, and like I look back on it and I don't regret anything that I did. Like in high school, I felt like I had the right mindset and I was happy I had that mindset. I feel like I got the most out of high school because I realized I'm never going to see half of these people again. So what does it matter what their opinion is?
Dude, I remember you saying
risks.
that. I remember you saying that as early as sophomore year. I remember you saying like, dude, why does it matter?
And I feel like I had that correct mindset for high school for myself because I was not concerned what other people thought about me. Like whether you liked me or not, I was me.
That's kind of why people gravitated towards you, bro. Because you had like a whole following outside of us, dude. You had like every class below you that come into PE, and then I remember like the football players that like dropped out of football going in sophomore junior year. You got them into magic and PE. Like you just had like a following, dude. Like it was crazy how our like persona we created actually carried to real life, and then you were just like you just embraced it. You embraced it like a Hollywood actor embraces their character. You're just like, all right, let's do this. It was great.
Well, I think like that could be what hinders me in my life now is to not. I feel like I have this problem now as an adult, and I feel like I have to be in control. I don't feel like I'm allowed to take risks anymore, and I feel like that's the unhealthy part is I'm not willing to just be like, this is your perception of me? Cool. Well, I will be that perception for you. Like I will be willing to take risks and do what I want to do.
Go ahead, Devin.
So, and this is the funny thing, it's the yin and the yang, dude. It's the chaos and the order. Your order is when you know what's going to happen. That's control. Your chaos is when you don't. That's like the constant balance. And if you think about the best times in your life, well, they were chaotic, maybe not devastating or dramatically chaotic, but chaotic in the sense of like, I don't know what's about to happen next. A lot of us didn't know what was going to happen when we just took our most successful jobs. A lot of us didn't. Actually, none of us knew it was going to happen. But, and that's just a job, right? Think about, both of you have very long-term relationships. Awesome. When you first talk to them, that was chaos. You're like, oh gosh, is this going to go my way or am I going to hang myself? So like, but that was the chance you took on the chaos. And it's the constant balance. So yeah, get back into the chaos, Dude, but you can't always be chaotic, of course.
Yeah.
No, dude. Okay, Clayton, Devin has a really good point, bro. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest risks to take in your whole life. I mean, regardless of materialistic things, like you put your brain, your heart, and your soul on the line for an individual, and you committed to that. I mean. So I think you can take risks. I think you're just overthinking it, bro. I mean, you don't have children. It's just you and her. You're established, dude. I mean, Devin took a risk to be a personal trainer when he was not well established, and he still did it. And I don't think he regrets that at all. Like he had that experience. If you wanted, and I still think one day you will be, but if you wanted to be like a streamer and everyone just follow you, dude. You have the capability, I believe, to just like, even if you just use your vacation time, like I'm going to stream for a week straight and just see where this gets me and judge myself every day. I'm really just going to try this or whatever you want trying to pursue. You can do it, Clayton. You're a smart guy and you don't have a lot that you don't have children. You know what I mean? You don't have like stuff to hold you.
For me is busy. That I've tried those things. Like I've tried streaming. That's why I have the equipment I have. Like I've tried it. That's why I understand how to work OBS and stuff like that. Because I've tried it. I've learned it. It was enjoyable. The only problem I have with solo streaming and stuff like that is I do better when I have someone else to play off of and kind of bat back and forth. For me, my biggest struggle is being entertaining by just having no one to play off. It's weird because when you're small, like the best moments I had and where I got the most follows is when there were actually people in my chat to interact with. Like I need engagement to be entertaining. So it's like trying to be entertaining when no one watching, it's difficult for me. And that's a skill set I want to learn and be able to understand.
It is. I mean, it is kind of hard to do because I mean, the few streamers that I used to watch, like they would just interact with their chat all day. But I mean, like when us three would play Overwatch, I feel like we had interesting conversations.
But that's what I'm saying. I had someone to play off of.
Yeah, but even in your case, like when I'd play Destiny with you and Logan, dude, sometimes it'd be like an hour or two. I wouldn't even speak. I would just listen to y'all. Either y'all just be talking crap to each other, or you would just be like discussing something in the game, but it just piqued my interest, like how y'all's going back and forth, the timing of it, what you're speaking about, like, and y'all just went, and it's just natural.
Well, it's like a good dynamic. It's the same thing with like all three of us. The reason why talking to each other kind of feels natural is because it's what we've done. We've always had conversations like this. We've had conversations where we sat in your garage till like 3 a.m. in the morning just talking about nonsense because it's like, well, I mean, this is what we do. So we've gotten this normal rapport. There was no practicing it. Whereas like when you're on your own, it's a whole separate thing to try to be entertaining because you don't do, if you don't do it constantly, you don't develop the skill. So it's like one of those things that like that's something I have to massively improve on if I ever wanted to get anywhere with it. So it's understanding how to just be able to rant on nothing and be able to get the ball rolling, and it's practicing. Because like to be honest, like like when I play games, some of it, like I was streaming New Vegas. Like I've done New Vegas 1,000 times. I can talk and keep New Vegas interesting because I know the game so well that I don't have to put focus on the game itself. I can have fun talking about what I want to discuss on it and try to be entertaining with it.
The key to making anything interesting is just being interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, like think about it. Like I can talk to someone about coffee.
Mm-hmm.
At service level, coffee is not that interesting. It's a caffeine drink. What are we talking about? But I'm very interested in coffee. You know what I mean? And if you want to be able to talk to yourself, you just have to be entertaining to yourself. You know what I mean? Like you just imagine someone's there, and that seems so like duh. But like when I'm talking to my iPhone when I'm recording myself, I have to just imagine that if this conversation took place where the other person didn't get to speak though, and I can just go, that's how it would go down.
Mm-hmm.
And then you build that, you know what I mean? Because if you see a big YouTuber, it's a snowball effect. They get a community, they start making inside jokes for their community. You know, the other day I saw a comment, somebody said, well, let me now it's almost doing the work for you. But at the beginning, if you go back in their videos, they're just, you know what I mean? Like trying
I love
to talk
your
about
faces and I'll see you tomorrow.
Right. You know what I mean? You know, or even like Graham Stephan's thing right now is like if you comment his next intro and if it gets enough upvotes, he'll say your intro.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a community thing that he didn't have before. But yeah, man, I mean, yeah, dude, like, you know, like take risk, of course, but I think the chaos is what makes things so fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think in chaos you think like when you say the word chaos, the first thing I think of is like burning buildings and dark magic, but really it's just the unknown, the little unknowns in life that make it fun.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what I do wrong in my career is that I don't, and the reason why I'm not getting to where I want to be is I'm not willing to take enough risks. Like maybe I need to start pulling out of my balance. You know what I mean? Because I've found this balance, but it's not getting me anywhere. Maybe I need to change the formula. Maybe I need to be willing to take more risks.
What is balance other than comfort? And what does comfort typically bring?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the problem with it. You know, and it's easy to get comfy, you know, being at a level of success that you might have not thought you had. I mean, I know for myself, you know, a level of success I didn't think I had. It's easy to get comfy.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's also like, you know, that drive of the next level, the drive of, you know, less regrets in life.
Mm-hmm.
And you get less regrets by taking more chances. You know, it's more about what you, you're happier that you did all the things, you know, and the less you can think about what you didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's always, especially like now, like, I mean, you know, not even leaning in on the kids thing, just our age thing. That's what I always think about. I'm like, bro, like, when we're 40, it's going to be hard to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like, you know?
Yeah, because you get more things that tie you down. You get accustomed to a certain lifestyle and stuff like that. Like, I agree with you. I think I don't know. It's for me, I think maybe I need to start taking more risks in my career and not be scared to take a risk that could backfire on me. Let me go hard at what I can do, and let me take these risks, and maybe people will respect me more for it.
Well, the thing is now you have a skill set. You know what I mean? Like you can sell.
Yeah, it's a transferable skill.
It's a transferable skill, but like being, when we are 40, nobody wants an unskilled 40-year-old. It's just embarrassing. You know what I mean? It's extremely embarrassing. But here's the thing: what I'm making with that, you take these risks now. Who knows where it leads you? Maybe you end up in a different career path or whatever. But when you get to that age, you will have an actual skill if you need to fall back on it. Luckily, sales is the most transferable skill. It's a good one to pick. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like if none of us had a single discernible skill, I mean, that'd be pretty detrimental. But again, take the risk now because now we got one.
Well, it's like another thing too is it's like I also don't feel like I understand what all skills I have at the same time. Like I had customers come in today who like literally won't go to another store that's closer to them simply because they think I have great customer service skills. And it's like, I don't really feel like I have that great of customer service skills. All I did was listen. That's all I did. I just listened to you and made you feel heard.
Yeah, I mean, there's some representatives that. So I mean, we had some customers come in yesterday that went to another location. I can't say, I guess, but they went to another location and they basically said they walked in the store and no one said anything. Like no one greeted them. Like they just stood there and looked around. And everyone just looked at them, and they like finally walked up and someone came up to them and was just extremely rude to them, and they just left. And they did an online order at ours and just came and picked it up. And they were like, I mean, as soon as they walked in, my coworker was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they were like, "Oh my gosh, you greeted us." And we were like, what?
It's one of those things, like, I mean, even for me, like, I understand there's sometimes you can't greet the customer. Like, if I'm deep in conversation, if it's just me working the store and I'm talking with this person or anything, I just, like, if I can't talk because I'm listening, I'll just wave at the person at the door or, like, give them a head nod, acknowledging, like, hey, I see that you're in here. Don't worry. I got you.
I just look up and I'm just like, we'll be with you as soon as we can, boss.
See, I'll do that.
Take a seat.
The only time I won't do that is like, let's say I'm in a deep conversation about technical stuff with my customer, and someone comes in.
Oh
and
no,
it's like,
yeah,
I'm in the flow. I can't break away from this. Let me just give you a nod or hand wave, acknowledging, hey, I see you. I understand you came in the store. Don't worry, I am going to take care of you. Like, I think it's so useful that companies do studies like that. Because, like, for us, our company invested in a study that it simply states that greeting a customer will buy you 15 more minutes of wait time on average. Just by acknowledging them.
I definitely believe that because because working alone,
true.
Working alone, dude, I've noticed that. So, like, at night shifts when I'm alone, like the last few hours, if I have, like multiple customers coming in and I'm like, say I'm like doing, like a big transaction with someone, like I'm doing stuff, I'm transferring, I'm upgrading, whatever. And like a couple of people start walking in, usually the people I'm with will respect if I'm like, hey, hang on 1 second. Let me just go see what they need. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. I will go over them like, what do you need? And then like, they'll tell me their issue, something quick. I'm like, I'm just going to take care of them real quick. And like, I noticed the customers in the store, they like respect like, hey, this guy's by himself, but he's trying to take care of business. You know what I mean? Like, but if I just sit there, there's been times where I've just like, I'll be with you when I can. And it takes a long time. Dude, people get mad and they start walking out. They're like, this guy hasn't acknowledged me. I'm out.
One of the reasons my customer explained to me, like I was explaining to him my philosophy because I was talking with them and I was helping them work through solutions, greeted the person that came in. They sat there for like 5 minutes and left. I was like, okay. And they're like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't want you to miss a sale. And I'm like, honestly, I was like, my philosophy is I'm taking care of you, and they'd want the exact same service if I was with them. And then I was like, on top of that, if they can only wait 5 minutes, it must not have been that important.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's Devin all the way. You don't rush people. You go, I'm guilty of that. You don't rush the interaction.
For me, it's like in an interaction, I try to cut out as much stuff as I can. Like, I try to cut out a lot of the stuff that's not pertaining to what we're actually doing. Like, if this person, like, if I'm trying to get them to decide on a product and all they want to do is talk about, like, something that's going into their kid's life that has no information that's pertaining to what we're doing or any way that I can use that information, I acknowledge it, and then I rotate us to a question. Like, once we're doing, like, transferring of info or something like that, then we can have that conversation. For me, it's like, we're going to do this when we have the correct time to do it.
Exactly. It's like, let's talk money here. Like, you know, like, let's keep it, like, I don't know, court of law. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a way. Like, you're like, I'm going to turn this into money, and people need that mindset. You know, when you're talking about a whole bunch of nothing, it irks me. It's like, so how are you turning this into money? You have one goal, you have one mission. You need to know why you're showing up, and that is any sales job. I don't care what it is. Every day you start at zero. Doesn't matter what's on the board for the month. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. And that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it hungry. And I wish more people got that and had that mentality. And like, it's just something about the even playing field. The even playing field. We can be cool outside of work. We can hang out. We can do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to sales, it doesn't matter your background. I've seen hot people sell. I've seen butt ugly people outsell the hot people. It doesn't matter. How good are you with communicating and understanding the customer? And that's what's so freaking fun about it. And that's what gets me hyped about it. And I wish more people felt that way. And I wish more people were in tune with why they come to work, because that is what's key. That's what separates a lot of people, knowing why and it actually mattering to you. So you will do something about it, because people will say money all day, and it's like, okay, you know, whatever, you know, maybe you don't want to tell me what it really is. And if it is money, show me that. Because if it's money, show me, be number one. That's where the most money's at, being number one. Like, what are we talking about? You know, so that is what's invigorating about it. And I think that's, you know, people like that's what makes it fun, man. And it's just, I think about that with the gym. I think about that with a lot of things I've done, is that what's the equalizer? Background doesn't matter.
That's what I always liked about the gym. It doesn't matter where you came from. Everyone's the same.
Well, it's the same thing when Devin is saying in sales. It doesn't matter where you came from. It's about what you can do with the skill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like,
that is true, bro.
Neither of us walked in knowing sales. We just took to it and we wanted to improve at it. And, like, I feel like that's what Devin gets frustrated with, is, like, why do you not want to perfect this skill? Like, why are you not trying to become better every day that you come in? Why are you just okay at being where you're at? Why don't you keep pushing for more? Why are you willing to stop?
And it's like, you know, part of that is learning. What it took a lot for me to learn is, like, again, projecting what I want on other people. You can't, right? You can't make them want something you want. Like, it has to be valuable to them. But again, it's always going to come back to the basics of, you know, like, okay, let's find that common ground. Let's drive it. But it is understanding that, like, the better everyday mentality, you know. And again, it's speaking of background, doesn't matter your age either, man. You know what I mean? But it's so fun just for the game of it, man, because it feels good to be confident. It feels really good to be confident in yourself about it, because I had an interview with a company selling office furniture, and the guy's like, well, I mean, it's not the most attractive thing we sell. And I was like, that doesn't matter. I'll make it sexy. And he laughed, and we both had a good laugh about it. But that's the thing. It feels, you can call it cocky, but you know what? It feels good to actually be confident that you have some sort of discernible skill. Like, that feels good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like sales is one of those skills that it's like, if you're good at, you can do anything. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're in sales,
literally applies to everything,
yes,
dude.
you can use that. Well, because, like, I had one person, like, when I was really nervous about interviewing and stuff like that, he told me one thing, and he's like, dude, literally an interview is sales. He's like, you're selling yourself on why they want you. He's like, if you can do that, then you can do a sales job.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not so great at sales, but I don't know. So this past week, I have discovered, and I don't know if I really am or not, but with um, the person in training, I've been helping a lot. I've basically been trying to train them the way I was trained. Um, and they've confided in me 2 or 3 different times that like, hey, I really appreciate you doing that, and thank you for telling me I'm doing a good job because I'm scared. Like, I this is a lot, and I was like, you're doing good, you're doing good. And even my other coworker commented and said, Q, you're a really good teacher. And I was like, I'm not that great at this job though. Devin knows firsthand, but he's like, well, regardless, he's like, you're good at teaching.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you may not be good at it, but you're good at teaching it. And I was like, He's like, you just have the patience.
Yep.
I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but
well, it's the
I'm trying to take the route that our acquaintance took with me, but because I feel like he did a really good job. So I'm trying to take those same baby steps to lead this person to their same type of success, because they want to succeed, like taking notes, everything, bro. Like, it's really cool. It's and also like they have a more mature mindset. It's not a younger person, it's an older person, so it's a lot different.
Well, it also comes down to are you better at different roles? You know what I mean? Like, you may not be the best at sales, but you could be the best manager. And that's what always kind of frustrates me about sales companies, is sometimes there's some sales company that just look at who can pump the highest numbers and they expect that to translate. Where it's like, it
doesn't always translate.
Not the only thing. Like, for me, it's like, I have my skill set, I'm decent, but I know where my pitfalls are, but I also know how to coach someone past those pitfalls.
Yeah, bro.
I'm locked in, I'm stuck at where I'm at, and I'm trying to work through it, but I've hit a rut that I'm trying to get out of. Whereas, like, I know I can coach someone past that rut. So it comes down to a thing of, too, like, you don't have to be the greatest at it. Like, you look at, like, boxing coaches and stuff like that. They may not be the best boxer of all time, but they can show you how to be it. They can show you the principles because they have that higher understanding of it.
I have a few times felt like I could do good as a manager, but not a salesman. I know that sounds really dumb, but like you said, I really do like I can do all that other crap. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm good about keeping up with it. I'm good about like reminding like, hey, we need to do that. Like, I don't know, like that stuff I'm good about, but sales itself, not so much. But yeah, developing others or seeing the potential in others, I feel like I'm good at. I feel like I've always been good at that specifically.
Right, and that's the whole Clayton is saying, like the coaches, but I've seen some amazing salespeople not be able to coach or teach. So yeah, you can't be great at everything. I have, I'm not good at designing systems for operations. I can get operations done, but I'm not good at creating a micromanagement system for them to get done. So if this was ever, if I ever had my own company or something, I'm just going to hire somebody that has that brain to do that. I'll take care of the creative stuff. I'll take care of campaigning, get people bought in. You create the systems that we run with. You know what I mean? And I'm not the biggest fan of systems. And I am more of just, you know what I mean? So it's like, finding those people that can fit the role. Yeah, of course.
And I think that's why I have so much confidence in this new person, is because their biggest fear is transferring content. That's their biggest fear. And I've seen them interact with customers, and I'm like, you're confident when you talk to people. And they're like, oh, I've worked in retail before. I'm like, they literally had a person yell and cuss at them, and they were just like, all right, that's all right. Took the bill pay. You have a good day. Like, never asked for me. Like, very, very good at that. Always walking up to people. Hey, can I do your bill pay? Are you buying accessories? That's all they can do right now, but they're still asking. And they want to see what I'm doing. I was like, I told them the least of your worries is transferring content. I was like, the first thing you want to do is learn every promo. Because I was like, every customer that comes in, I hear you say, we have a promo, I'll buy two, get one. And they're like, well, that's the only one I know. I'm like, research MST. Learn all those promos. I was like, if you can sell someone on it, we will figure out the rest later. I was like, that is all they care about. I was like, you can sell someone on this idea. That is what they care about. No, all right.
Okay.
Like,
and I like this individual too, but would you be willing to say that what inspires you about them is that hunger? Background doesn't matter. They're hungry for it. They're ready to get after it. They understand the equalize. That exactly that. Like that is
they wanted to be on the floor selling. Like they've got all like their trainings, they're just like knocking them out. They're like, I want to log in. I mean, you've probably seen there's some sales on there because they wanted to log in. They wanted to do it. So I'm trying to do. They shadowed me for a few days. I'm shadowing them. I'm speaking. They're doing Opus. And now I'm hoping my coworkers will take over and let them do everything while they shadow them. That was my next goal. But I had to not make it to that step, but I'm hoping that will be the next step for them. So that's how it happened for me. I shadowed, then they shadowed me doing technical, then they shadowed me doing everything.
And that, I mean, but that's the key thing. It's that hunger and like, even when I was in restaurants, like you knew who wanted to get the tips and you knew who could run the floor and you knew the one or two people that like, like just, you're like, if they're taking a table, they're going to complain about it. They're going to get a bad tip because of the table. And you're just like, right. And when they get, when they get a huge party, you're just like, oh my gosh, I hate you because I could get like $40 off that. You're going to get like 10, you know what I mean? Like it's every industry, it's every role. Like you have those hungry people that inspire you and you want to be around. And you have those people that are just like, you don't even know why they're there. They don't even know why they're there.
It is inspiring because like this person wants to like build a career, or they have reason. They have kids, they have things going on, more reason than I do personally. And I don't know, I find that inspiring. Like they're like, even though they're ahead of me age-wise, they're still trying to better themselves, I guess is what it is. They haven't given up, And I think that's very admirable.
Yeah, definitely true. All right, guys. Well, y'all got anything else y'all want to roll into?
Dude,
I think what makes it weird, like the whole, I think the whole thing, like with, like you brought up the having the kids thing, and I think personally, some people it takes that, but like. I've said this before, man, and I have some good friends who are great parents that are like, I was motivated before my kids. Like, I don't know what that added because they were like hungry before then. Like you know what I mean? And like, we've had those conversations because like, it's kind of like were you motivated? Like, did they motivate you in a different way? Because some people, unfortunately, even having the kids still aren't motivated, so it's just like, oh my gosh, I think for most people it should be the vision of the future self and then the vision of like the worst case scenario of what it could be, and to drive away from that and think about the things they didn't like and think about the things they did like maximize the characteristics you appreciate about yourself. And, you really enjoyed your childhood and there's nothing wrong with that. What did you enjoy about it? How can you maximize those attributes? You know what I mean?
See, I want that. It's just weird because like Clayton was saying earlier, like, as a future parent, or if you plan on having kids or something, you want to do better than what your parents did. Well, I'm not saying my mom's perfect, but dude, I love my mom. I think she did a lot of amazing things. There's a lot of similar things, like similar parenting that she did to me that I'll probably carry over to my children. Dude, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head that I would probably change. Like I will probably go into her for advice and everything. But I want kids, and I'm nervous about that, but I don't want my kids to be the reason like, oh, I'm going to have kids. That's what's going to change me. That's the wrong reason to have kids. Like I want to have kids because genuinely, I'm ready to settle down. I want to pass myself on, I guess, in a weird kind of a way. And my personal goal is like, I never had a dad, so I want to father someone. That's me. That's just my personal goal. Everyone has their own reasons, and there's also that underlying like natural, like you gotta, let yourself live forever. But that's my personal reason. But I can't think of a lot that I would change. I mean, I admire my mother. She's one of my heroes. I think she's a very strong woman. I mean, I don't know. I think that's kind of rare. I mean, well, maybe not, but I don't know how much I would change, really.
I think you cross the bridge when you get there, man. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the idea of doing better than them isn't predicated on they did bad. It's that I think my parents did a ton of great things, but I know how I felt in certain situations. So you cross that bridge when you get there, because you're like, I'm going to cross that bridge when Atlas is, you know what I mean? When he's like a teenager, there's some decisions that are going to come up. There's going to be some social, issues with his friends that back in the day, we would have done this, but this is today now. That's basically the bridge you're going to cross. You know what I mean? When you get there. So how would you do it differently?
I'm worried. My fear is that I'll be too strict, because my brother, always tried to do everything, whatever we wanted. Always felt guilty because our father passed. Always trying to make us happy, blah, blah, blah. And I love her to death for that. But I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to spoil my children to the point of feeling like they can't move on, I guess. Because I don't know. I don't want to, I want my children to be independent, I don't want to always be dropping back on dad or mom to like, how do we do this? And I'll admit right now, I mean, I'm guilty of that. I mean, I'm in her casa right now. My brother's guilty of that. My sister's guilty of that. They're both in their own places. But I mean, we depend on our mother heavily, like for information, whatever. I mean, everyone's different, but I would like that to be different for my children. I would like them to depend on themselves. Just be a little more independent. I don't want them to like fear me and be like, don't ever ask dad anything, don't ever ask mom anything, but like kind of figure it out for yourself. But I know my mom did that out of remorse, and sadness because of what happened with our dad. But I don't know. I hope that's not the case with my children. I hope that they are more like you guys, more independent, more, we want to go out on our own. That is my hope. I guess if I could say I'd do anything different, it would just be that. Other than that, I feel like my mom did the best that anything she could do, but
I think you just create that through little, parts of autonomy, and letting them make their own decisions and mistakes. Cause that's what I went through growing up, was being allowed to make those mistakes. There was some strict side, but again, you'll never get it right. You'll never get it perfect. You can only, do what you do best. Right. So, and again, like I relate this a lot to the corporate world, but it just makes sense to me. Like if you constantly micromanage employees, you'll eventually make them stupid because all they know is micromanagement, and they're just waiting for the next direction. They won't staple a certain piece of paper a certain way without direction. They won't make a single, so like same thing. But again, if there is never any guidance, then you also have a problem. Mm-hmm. So it's both ends of the spectrum, and you're always going to be working of when to be autonomous, when to correct, when to when not to micromanage, when to praise, when to, you know what I mean? So it's such a complex issue. If there was a blueprint for it, it would already be made, and it would be the number one book everyone gets as soon as a kid's born. But there's no blueprint. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the other weird thing is like, yeah, well, and the other thing is like, too, is like, just a lot of things change. Your perspective on a lot of things change. And like, in a lot of the times you're asking for advice just to bounce your idea that you were going to do anyway. You know what I mean? I'll be like,
oh yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, like, what do you think about, what do you think about this? Like, here's my thoughts. Like, okay, well, I was thinking complete opposite. I was just making sure I'm still going to do it.
I do that now, dude. I do that all the time. That's still happening now. I mean, I bounce off peers, family members. That's just what it is. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it'll be gratifying. I mean, having children, all that stuff, but not going to be easy.
It's an immense, it's a lot of it's an extremely complex thing. It's a lot of sacrifice. Like, you know, and I've probably told y'all before, you'll never be ready, but you can only be a little bit more ready, but you'll never be 100% ready, because the challenges that come with it are just insane. And like, and it's not just raising the kid, it's the child care for the kid. And it's literally just the craziest thing. Like, okay, like a random problem you wouldn't think of, right? So I pay child support, and I pay it, but we just pay it directly to each other for the longest time because we couldn't figure out how to set it up to the state, because we thought it was fine. We thought everything was fine and dandy. Like a few months ago, government came down on me and is like, now we're garnishing all of your wages from here on out. Not only that, we are impacting your credit score from here on out because you never paid through us. So they are reporting every time I don't pay. I do pay. I just don't pay through the government office. I just pay her through Zelle. You know what I mean? But think about the ramifications of that. That can stop me from getting a house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that can like affect a lot of things in my life.
That's
like
crazy,
think, like
dude.
like there's an immense amount of problems that can come from this. So it is not like oh, babies are cute. Like, dude, it's like, yeah, they're cute and it's rewarding, but it's like, you don't know the level of things that can happen, or like how many opportunities are now cut off from you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't leave the state. You know what I mean? Like, this is pretty much where I'm at. Not that I want to leave to actually really enjoy Texas, but it's like, if opportunities come up outside of Texas, it's just no go for me. Even Texas is so big, I have a sandbox within Texas I have to stay within. Not because of the law, but just because if I move too far away and I can't visit him, that's stupid. Or if it's cumbersome, if it's a 6-hour drive to go see him, that is just not a smart decision. So
it's your child. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, like the trip me and Selena are about to go on. I mean, we couldn't do that if we have kids. Like, we would just have to stay home. Like, that would just be it. Mm-hmm. But because we don't, like, we can kind of just like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and just take off. Like, I mean, this is what it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the reason why I am the way that I am, and I don't want kids, is it literally comes down to the ability to have the freedom to make those choices. I mean, call it selfish, but I'm not willing to sacrifice that. There are certain prices I'm not willing to pay. Like, I get that there's a payoff for it, but to me, I do the math calculation. I'm like, hey, it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think that's selfish. I truly don't. I mean, because you're making a conscious decision, like, this is how I want to live my life. I think it's selfish for people who like have children and then don't take care of them, mm-hmm. or have children and then just abandon them. That's selfish. You choosing to live your lifestyle is 100% not selfish. You just made a choice in a free country in a world that I believe should be free. Like, mm-hmm. That's your choice, dude. We're overpopulated. Whatever. You can live your life, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's a weird thing for me. I think the reason why I feel like it's a little bit selfish is I guess it's kind of an ego thing. Like, I feel like I could raise a pretty good kid. I don't know why. Oh, yeah. Feel like I have that confidence level. Like, yeah, I could handle having a kid. Like, I could figure it out. It's not that hard. But there's also that part of me that's like, yeah, but that, like, if I could make a great kid, like, am I selfish for not creating that kid? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a weird thing for me, because it's like, dude, what if I could have a kid, and what if that kid could change the world? But because I choose not to, it's not going to ever happen. It's a weird thing.
I mean, I don't think it's selfish at all. I mean, your kid could change the world, but I don't think you should have a kid on the basis of like, oh, my kid could be the next president or something. Like, you should have the kid, like, I don't know, kind of like what you were saying earlier. You want to have a better life than you, or you want to give them something you didn't have. I mean, sometimes I've told Selena this. I feel like I want to have kids for selfish reasons. Like, there's plenty of kids who are orphans, dude. I could adopt, the CPS, like foster care, like. But I want to have my own seed just because, in my head, like, because I didn't have my dad, I'm like, I want to be a dad to my own. That's selfish, dude. If you really put it on that paper, that's selfish. There's plenty of homeless children out there. Like I don't know.
Well, I
So
think
what you're doing is definitely
selfish?
not selfish.
it's selfish to a degree, but
but
the reason why I feel like it's selfish is like the dynamic that plays into it is ego. Like, ego is the only reason why I feel it's somewhat selfish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. My personal situation compared to the world's.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I could make a better kid than a lot of people. I choose not to do it. Okay. And then my ego's like, yeah, that's kind of selfish because you could raise a better kid than everyone else. And it's like, okay. It's where ego comes in. It's like, that's not necessarily true. But I'm like, nah, I could do it. It's not that hard.
I mean, you could, but do you want to?
Well, hold on. I mean, if you want to shatter your ego, that's how you would do it. That's one aspect of how you would do it, because everyone feels that way until they have one. Everyone feels that way. And that's why once you become a parent, you accept advice from other parents. But I mean, everyone feels that way, dude. Before I had my son, I was like, bro, I see so many bad kids. I hate kids in restaurants. I hate kids in the store. Kids suck. My kid won't be a kid that sucks. And then it happens. And then you're like, oh. And then it haunts you every day. You're like, what if my kid? You know what I mean? Like, it literally follows you every day. Like, you never drive alone. It's always with you.
I love the fact that you called it. It follows me every day.
No, not the kid. The feeling, not the kid.
I completely thought you were talking about the kid.
You did. Oh my God, no. The feeling that you're screwing up, the feeling that you're like, you now will not be a successful parent, the feeling that you're a terrible father will never leave you. That's the other sacrifice. You have to walk around with it all the time.
But I mean, I don't think you can consider yourself a terrible father until Atlas is like at the age of self-awareness. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but like I would say as late as like 14 or 15. Like, I know I remember back to like 7 or 8, but I don't know what I was doing, dude. Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't consider yourself like, oh, I did bad. Like, really, when Atlas can reflect with you, like, hey, Dad, this kind of bothered me, or, you know, blah, 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 blah. That's when you can really see, like, okay, maybe I messed up here. You can't judge yourself. But
then he's 14, and you like have already screwed him up. So you have to be reflecting already.
I don't feel like you have screwed him up.
No.
So I mean, 14, you're still figuring out yourself.
Here's the thing, though. Here's what Devin's saying, and kind of to a degree, is can you raise your kid well enough that you can get him to that point where he can have that conversation with you? That's what he's saying. It's like you could be 14, such a bad parent that's not a conversation that happens.
Exactly. So what? So he's at 14. He's like, yeah, you screwed up my whole childhood. I'm like, now it's too late. Your childhood's gone. So you did screw up. You know what I mean? So that's like
to me, you saying that to yourself, like, oh, I screwed up your whole childhood. That's it. To me, that's like depression or something in your brain kicking in, because a 14-year-old kid is still a kid. You still have 4 years to mold that child. Like, that's a lot of time, dude.
To some degree, yes, but that's also the rebellious phase when he's pretty much going to be like, he's going to hate us. He's going to hate me and his mother for the next few years.
Yes, it's a rebellious phase.
Now it's almost even more further out of control, and the sand glass, you know, the sands in the hourglass are getting smaller, and you're like, this is almost completely out of my control at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, I reflect on it now that I've already made a bunch of mistakes, and you just try to fix them along the way, because you don't want to wait till then to be like, did I or not? You're trying to do it all the time, because you just like, people will constantly judge you. You know what I mean? And people, like I said at the beginning, people will use it against you, but like, it's a feeling of like, am I screwing this kid up? all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've never been there, so I'm sure I would be thinking the same thing every day. But
Yeah.
I'd be reaching out to
sure,
a lot
bro.
of people for advice.
I think
I'd
for
be
sure,
like,
bro. I think
whoa,
you're gonna be
what am I
tripping.
doing? Yeah, I'd be like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Hey, did your kid go shit on the pot at this age?
Man, and here's the weird part. I feel like the answer is always no. You know what I mean? Like
It's always
the
gonna be
answer is always
different.
going to be. The answer is always no, because like, you know, are you beating the kid? No. Well, then you're doing. You know, are you there for them? Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much what they want.
I mean, dude, like, so, like, Selena's nieces and nephews, who I consider my nieces and nephews now, like, they seriously made me want to have kids. Like, I lived over there for like, I was almost a year, but being around them so much, and they're like, so when I met them, they were like 7, 10, 2, and 1. So now they're all like a year older than that, like 11, 8, 3, and 2. It's really, I don't know, dude. It makes my heart melt when you walk in the house. I haven't been there in, like, I go very, very seldomly, not near. I used to live there. Now I'm like every like few months or something. And there's still, when I walk in, Q, and dude, that makes my heart melt. Like those kids, they get excited when they see me, and I'm like, man, I have to take this opportunity to pass knowledge on to them, or happiness at the very least. I have to show them that this life is worth living, because they're the future. They can't give up, because if they give up, the whole, everyone gives up. I know that's like overthinking completely, but it's like these babies are the future. I don't know, dude. That's how I feel. Like I've told Selena many a times, her 2 nieces, I would adopt them in a heartbeat. If her parents came up, I would adopt them in a heartbeat. Like those are my baby girls. Like every time I go over there, they always give me hugs and kisses and like, oh cute. Like if FaceTime, like I don't know, dude. It just changed me. It really did. Like just being around that and having kids excited every time you wake up in the morning, and they come wake you up in the morning and they kiss all over you, or it really changes you, bro. It really does. It's gratifying. It really is.
It'll change you when you're not sleeping and they're waking you up at 7 a.m. and you're like,
I'm gonna punch this kid in the face.
Yeah,
This kid's getting close to being swung on.
I have a video of all 4 kids in our bed while we're in the bed, and also the dog and her sister-in-law. We're all in the bed, bro. It's just they all came in there in the morning, and it's like when you're sleeping there, you're like, fuck these fucking kids, I won't be in here. But then when you watch the video, you're like, man, I love those kids. Like,
dude, no,
I do. Bro. That's just me. That's just me.
Right. No, I know. I love my son. It's just funny. Like, I'm like, it's going to change you. All right. Yeah. You won't sleep. It's fine. But yeah, like, no, there's a huge upside. But you know, what's funny is like, so actually there was something that came out a few weeks ago. We're going through a baby bust
Really?
because so many people in our generation are not having children. We're going through a baby bust.
I didn't know that.
Birth rates are dropping dramatically.
I thought COVID
people
made
like
them go
me
up.
are getting things through. We're pushing it.
Well, COVID was actually part of it, though, because some people are like, we are not in a position to financially support a family, let alone ourselves. There's a lot of factors that are at play. There's a lot of factors that are at play. They're like, I can't bring a kid in this world because I just got let go of my job, and now I'm not interested in having a kid because I have no career. I have nothing to provide.
Yeah.
And then that's just one aspect of it. There's a lot of, honestly, like, it does excite me for Atlas to have his own experiences and the experiences we're going to have, as a father and son. But I think about the disgusting things in the world, and it scares me. I think about the evil things that happen. And I'm like, this is a horrible, horrible place. It is absolutely brutal and disgusting. So there's people that are like, I don't want to bring a kid into this.
That's where the nostalgic side of me comes in, bro. Like, me and Selena have been planning. We want to have kids sometime after her 21st. She turns 21 in July. Sometime after that, maybe in 2022. But I've always wanted my children to grow up with y'all's children, bro. Like, because I know you're gonna raise your kid right. I know Chase gonna raise his kid right. I know, like, they're gonna grow up self-aware. Dude, I feel like a lot of adults are not self-aware. Like, they're gonna grow up self-aware. They're gonna know what their surroundings are. Like, I want my kids to be around people like that. And that's why, like, when Atlas and I'm sorry, when you're, the kids are all together, like, it made me happy, even though those weren't my kids. Like, it's like, I hope my kid's a part of this, or a part of the next few that come in, or something, because that's important to me. Because I could put my kid in the wrong group. I don't know. I feel like maybe I overthink that, but I feel like I could put them in the wrong group of, like, kids that really do focus on, like, social media or whatever. They're something that's not important all the way through their teen years.
But see, here's the thing though with kids though, you don't get to make that decision. They get to make that decision. You don't get to decide that for them.
True. That's a good point.
I guess all those teachers that were like, yeah, but all those teachers that are like, you don't need to hang out with them. Now, granted, we weren't bad kids on a scale. We weren't, but you were like, I don't care what you think. Get back to your class. Like, you're really inside. Like, if you could say how you felt, you'd be like, walk yourself right back to that classroom, and I'll tell you a lot of more filthy things. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what you think. So,
where a lot of that influence came from was my mother. I mean, I came home and I was like, hey, my teacher said I can't hang out with Chase, Clayton, and Darren. And she's like, those people don't know what they're talking about. Those are sweet boys, like that.
And you can
gave me influence as a child. Like,
you can, to a degree of, like, like, hey, like, you are in the wrong group. But here's the other thing is that who knows what school district your kid is going to go to eventually. That's going to be a huge, like, you know what I mean? Like,
no idea.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, my son don't know where he's going to end up as far as school districts is, you know what I mean? So I just have to hope he ends up in the right group there. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing too, is like, my kid and my friend's kid hanging out. That's awesome. It's fun and dandy, and it's it's cute. We take pictures and everything. Hopefully they're friends when they get older, but really it's going to come down to, like, where are they going to school at?
I mean, it could extend though. I mean, like, tomorrow I'm going to see, family friend, which, by the way, both y'all are invited. I put it in the chat. He really wanted me to let y'all know that y'all are both invited, and that we need to let the thug speak on the next podcast. But anyway, he's right there behind City Market. It's not that far away. But my point being is, like, there's a huge age gap between us, bro. Like, I mean, that's like 3 years, 4 years. That dude looks like a more grown-ass man than me now. But still, when we text, he's like, dude, let the thug speak. Like, yeah, bro, we're family. When we gonna hang out? We're gonna chill. Get hot. Like, it's the people you surround yourself with. Like, even if my kid goes to, like, Burleson, and say your kid goes to Mansfield, and someone else's kid go to Fort Worth, but we have, like, I don't know, an Easter egg hunt, or a St. Patty's Day, or some sort of, like, get together. It's like, hey, you have school friends, but these are your friends that are, like, already part of your family. That's how I kind of was introduced to it. It's like, these are your family friends. These kids are part of a friendship that goes beyond you. It's like your parents back to when they were kids. It's like you accept it. And I don't know.
It depends to what degree. And again, we're all adults now. Like that dude's like 21 now. You know what I mean? So, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then how many family friends hung out in the group that just did not stay? Only one of them still probably would stay in touch with us. You know what I mean? So there's just so many factors, man. You know what I mean? So it's always going to come back down to, just doing your best, right? So
that's true, man. I got plenty of ideas for guests, bro.
All right.